What's up, beloved? Welcome to a new series called TFR, Twin Flames Report. This is the secondary podcast series. My primary podcast series is TPR, the Positivity Report. I'm Ryan Wilson. This is the second episode here on TFR. The first episode is the trailer. And in these first 5 episodes, the first one being the trailer, this is episode 2. In these first 5 episodes, this is going to lay the foundation for this podcast series, TFR. And we are actually going to be re-uploading some episodes from TPR, the primary podcast series, in order to lay the foundation for this secondary podcast series. And so in this episode here, episode 2, we are going to be re-uploading a podcast that has been uploaded to TPR, the main primary podcast platform, here in 2026. The episode was recorded in February 2026 and then uploaded later on here in 2026. The next episode, episode 3, is going to be a re-upload from 2024. Which was recorded in February 2024, so 2 years ago. And then episodes 4 and 5 here are going to be re-uploads from 2020. So in order for us to move forward on this series, we must first go backwards through each of these episodes and through these different years of time over the journey in order for us to be ready to continue to build and move forward. And that's a big theme with Twin Flames in general, and with healing and with spiritual growth and all these things that we are going to speak about. In order to progress forward, you must first go backwards to begin to heal, to begin to learn, and whatever the case may be. So that's what we are going to do in these first 5 episodes. And that is likely going to be the first season here on TFR. And so as for the primary podcast, TPR, we do seasons over there by Gregorian calendar year. Each year is a different season, and we are currently on season 8 here in 2026. And TPR began in 2019. That was season 1. 2020 was season 2, so on and so forth, up until season 8 here in 2026. And so when I was first putting the ideas together to start the secondary podcast series over here, I was initially thinking that we were not going to do any seasons over here and just, have the episodes all together. But as I thought more about it, and as the seasons and the years would line up between TPR and TFR, it just makes too much sense to not do seasons. So I do believe we are going to do seasons over here as well. And so the first season here on TFR is going to be these first 5 episodes, which are all going to be re-uploads from content from TPR, where we were speaking about twin flames and important foundational points for us to begin to grow and move forward here on this secondary series. And so as for the primary podcast, TPR, the foundational season is season 7 over there from 2025. And that season had 10 episodes in it. And it was really broken up into 2 different 5-packs as well. But 10 episodes, 2 different 5-packs in 2025 for season 7. Those are the foundational points to understand what we're speaking about in season 8 and beyond, most high willing, on TPR, the primary. So the foundational season is season 7, and it's 10 episodes long. The foundational season over here on the secondary series, TFR, is season 1 here, and it's these first 5 episodes. So like I said, listening to these episodes is going to be important, because in order for us to move forward, we must first, do this most recent episode here, which is going to be a re-upload of TPR 371, What is Love, from 2026. Then episode 3 is a re-upload, a segment from TPR 303, End Times is what that episode is called. And then episode 4 is TPR 34, the It and It Chapter 2 full movie breakdown. And then episode 5 here is going to be TPR 35, the Matrix movie breakdown as well. So all of those, are speaking heavily about twin flames as well as other points. And, it's just going to be important foundational things that we will reference back to as we continue to move forward on this series, Most High Willing. And so essentially this episode today from 2026 is my most current and recent thoughts. Like I said, this episode that you're going to hear in a moment, this is just a quick little intro. This episode that you're going to hear was recorded in February 2026 and uploaded here in 2026. So my most current recent thoughts about twin flames. And then next episode is from 2024. So 2 years ago. So you'll hear my thoughts there. And then going back to 2020, 2 episodes there, and episodes 4 and 5 are going to be my thoughts, from quite a few years ago. So seeing the progression, seeing my current thoughts, and then all the way back to 2020, and then even in the middle in 2024 is going to be important as we continue to move forward. And so I'm calling this episode here on TFR the Prologue, because this episode is not a proper introductory episode, really. Like I said, this is my secondary series. So a lot of you that are probably familiar with TPR, the primary podcast, you already know about me, who I am, and what the goals are for this series. And this episode today is going to show you what my goals are and stuff like that. And so instead of doing a long intro episode here, I think the best way for a new listener to understand what this series is going to be, what my goals are, what I'm about, who I am as a person, the best way for a new listener to understand that is to let these first 5 episodes speak for themselves. Instead of me telling you who I am, what my goals are, and what we're doing, these episodes, these first 5 are going to answer all those questions and say it better than I could here in an intro episode. So Most High Willing, possibly in season 2 or moving forward, we may do a proper intro, kind of going through a lot more basics and, saying the points. But for right now, it's just important to get this information out, these foundational points for you guys to listen, and then we will just build from there. So we may do a proper intro, but this episode is the prologue, so part of the story, you know what I'm saying? And the episode that you'll hear today is kind of the origin story of how I put together this secondary series, TFR, and everything like that. So just to give some quick introductory points right here, like I said, this is like the little intro before I let the actual podcast episode, the re-upload, play for this episode. And we'll do a short little intro in each of these episodes after this. In episode 3, 4, and 5, we'll do a quick little intro before I re-upload the episodes and kind of explaining what you're hearing and what these episodes are talking about a little bit more. And like I said, the first episode is a trailer that speaks for itself. But just to give you some quick important information before we, let this episode play and speak for itself. So the first thing I would say is that each of these episodes that will be re-uploaded here to TFR in the first season, the first 5 episodes, is these were uploaded to TPR, the primary podcast. So there's a lot of overlap between these 2 podcast series, and a lot of the points are relevant here as they are on TPR. But just remember, as you're hearing these episodes, that if there's certain things that may seem out of context here, there's a reason for that, because it was originally uploaded to a different podcast series, so there's a lot of overlap and it very much fits here. That's why I'm re-uploading these episodes. But if there's certain little details that may seem out of context, the reason is because, we're 8 seasons deep, over 370 episodes deep on TPR. So if you're brand new here on TFR and you're hearing, that re-upload of TPR 371 in this episode, there was a lot of time, a lot of building, a lot of work on TPR. So if certain things might not make sense to you, that's most likely why, because, it's a different context over there, but it very much overlaps and goes together. Some other important information that you must know is when we speak about the Most High and Scripture, you'll hear me saying the name Yah or Yahuwah for the Most High, the Father, Yahuwah. That's a Hebrew name, Yah, Yahuwah. Yah is like saying God, Y-A-H instead of G-O-D for God. So Yah, Yahuwah is speaking about the Most High. Instead of saying Jesus Christ, you'll hear me say Yahusha HaMashiach. Salvation in the Messiah is the Hebrew name for Jesus Christ. So if you hear those words, that's what we're talking about. In this episode particularly, you'll hear me say the word Ruach, which means spirit, and Ruach HaKodesh is the Holy Spirit. So Ruach means spirit. Yahuwah is the name of the Heavenly Father. Yahushua HaMashiach is the name for Jesus Christ. So you'll hear me saying that. The version of scripture that we read from on TPR and we will read from Most High Willing on this series is the Sefer version. CEPHER, the Sefer, and the website to get the Sefer is sefer.net. You could see all of my links in my link tree, which is linktree.com/WilsonRyan__. The link to the Sefer is in my link tree. Click on the butterfly icon. It's linktree.com/WilsonRyan__. The butterfly icon is the sefer.net. The way to email me, send me an email, is at pod.tpr@gmail.com. That's the email address that I use on the primary podcast TPR. So it's pod.tpr@gmail.com to send me an email. You could see and all this is in my link tree. My YouTube channel for TPR is youtube.com/@TPRpod5. And the YouTube channel for TFR this series is youtube.com/@twinflamesreport. That is linked in my link tree. And then my Instagram is at WilsonRyan__. And you can see, all of those links in my link tree, as well as where you can listen to TPR, the primary podcast. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a lot of the other podcast platforms. And then same thing for TFR. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, a lot of the other podcast platforms also have it there on YouTube. All of those links are in my link tree, linktree.com/WilsonRyan__. And so, these episodes are going to speak for itself. This is just the intro. And if you're hearing this episode, I found the Most High in 2020. And so in 2019, when I first started TPR, that was the first season, I would say that I was in like New Age spirituality. And then I found the Most High in 2020. And I've been a servant of the Most High and seeking the Most High ever since, reading scriptures. I'm not in a religion. I'm not religious. Came out of false religions, came out of New Age spirituality, and am a servant of the Most High. And these topics, the twin flames, is certainly not New Age. It is completely aligned and correlated with the worship of the Most High. They go together. Twin flames are from the Most High. And it's commonly misunderstood as something New Age or whatever people, may think. But, like I said, I was once in New Age many years ago, and glory and praise to the Most High that he took me out of darkness and out of New Age spirituality and brought me into the truth, took me out of religion. So this is not religion. This is not being religious. This is straight up spirituality, getting close to the Creator, Abba Yahuwah, the Father Yahuwah, the Most High, through his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, which is our high priest in the seventh covenant. And in order to understand how to worship the Most High, that's what TPR, the primary podcast series, is for. That's what's extremely necessary for our salvation. And so, like I said, season 7 over there is TPR 341 to TPR 350, 10 episodes, 2 different 5-packs. It starts at TPR 341 to 350. That is the best place for any person to start, even if you're new here. And you could just go back from there. TPR 340, The Healing Journey, which was the end of season 6, right before season 7. That's also a good place, if you're new here, because I kind of reference older episodes on TPR, and then you can move forward into season 7. That's the foundation. And so in order for us to understand these topics here on TFR regarding the twin flames, it's extremely helpful and essentially necessary for us to understand the ways of the Most High, because that's with regard to our salvation and things that are extremely important. And this is the secondary series. So both of these podcast series go hand in hand. They go together. You will see the cohesiveness. You will see the overlap. And people want to put titles and terms and, doctrines on things, saying things are New Age or whatever. But if we can purely worship the Most High and purely know Yah, know the Most High, Yahuwah and Yahusha, knowing the Most High is critical. Knowing Yah is critical to then understanding these other points of spirituality. And it all goes together because Abba Yahuwah, the Father, is the creator, the only creator. And he has created all this wealth of understanding and deeper knowledge and just beauty and love, in what the Most High has created. Glory to Yah. Hallelujah. Amen. So this series is to explore and bring clarity and truth to the connection that is commonly known as twin flames. Nothing more, nothing less. Say less. All praise of the Most High. Let's let the rest of this episode play. It's a re-upload of TPR 371, What is Love? And it's episode 2 here on TFR, the prologue. And Most High willing, we will continue to build in this first season, the first 5 episodes here on TFR. All praise of the Most High. You already know. If you know, you know. Say less and much love. Welcome to the secondary series, TFR. And definitely, if you're new here, check out TPR, the primary podcast series, and see how it all goes together and hear more in this episode about the origin story and how it all came together in the Most High's beautiful and perfect timing. Hallelujah. Amen. Much love. Let's go. What's up, beloved? Welcome back to another episode. In this episode, as we have done all throughout this 8th season of TPR, we are going to continue to challenge the common, thinking, the common understanding, things that are well accepted amongst the so-called truth online and even outside of the truth, even just in society. As we have done in season 8, we've continued to break out of the box, push the paradigm, elevate the paradigm, break out of some of these common thoughts and understandings and misconceptions, if you will. That's been a big theme of season 8 in order for us to know the Most High, truly know him. This walk is not what people want it to be or what we think it should look like, but it's about spiritual growth and healing and evolution. And actually, with that being said, let's read, this was a caption from my Instagram from November 17th, 2025, relevant timeline. We read this in this 8th season of TPR. Let's read it right here, which will summarize, where we're going for this episode. And my Instagram is at WilsonRyan__. And the post said, "The awakening is and has been ever changing. The Most High cannot be fit into a box, and part of mankind's problem is trying to do just that. This walk is about spiritual growth, evolution, and healing, not physicality, images, or what we think the walk should look like. The Messiah completely broke the Pharisees because he did things differently than they were falsely expecting, and that was the whole point. The children of Yasharel spent 40 years in the wilderness so that they could humbly follow Yah wherever he led them. And the ones who jumped the gun and tried to figure out the walk too soon never entered the promised land. The same thing is happening now. You're not supposed to figure it out. We're supposed to be humbly obedient for years in our spiritual wilderness. And then, and only then, will the promises be materialized. Until then, you will continue to see the spiritual stiff-necked fall in the wilderness, just as the forefathers did. The babes, the little ones, the humble shall enter the land. Reset your expectations, break out of the box, elevate and shift the paradigm. We are truly only just getting started, and all praise and glory to our heavenly Abba Yahuwah through his son Yahushua Mashiach, the high priest. Hallelujah and Amen." And so all praise and glory to the Most High. That caption, that message essentially summarizes season 8 of TPR, if you will. very much so. We covered a lot of things. TPR 353, the spiritual wilderness, we covered that point. So with this episode here, that's what we have done throughout season 8 is elevating the paradigm, breaking out of the box, breaking down these, common misconceptions or images or physicality of what people and we at certain times even think the walk should look like, and breaking out of that to truly know the Most High, truly know Yah, TPR 356. And that's been a big theme of season 8, and most high willing, that's going to be a big theme for this episode right here. What is love? Where we are going to do just that. We are going to break the paradigm, break out of the box and start to ask ourselves and begin to answer, what is love? It's not what we've been told. It's not what we think it should look like. It's not physicality or images. This walk is about spiritual growth, evolution, and healing, and all of that has to do with love, and it all has to do with the Most High. As we know, the 7th spiritual covenant is a marriage to our heavenly Abba, a way to be reconciled to him, for your maker is your husband, and Yahushua Mashiach, our high priest, is our bridegroom. We are to be married to Yah in the 7th spiritual covenant, and so it's completely relevant as to marriage to a spouse and love and all these different things. So it very much goes hand in hand. And that's why these topics are being intertwined and spoken about here in season 7 and 8. For example, 345, marriage consecrated, back in season 7, and things that we covered here in season 8. So before we get to speaking about these topics, what is love? Some of the relevant episodes from this season that we're going to speak about here is, I just mentioned 353, spiritual wilderness. That was relevant to the caption we read. 356, knowing Yah, is going to be very important for this episode. The episode after that, 357, Yosef and Asenath, we began to speak about these points and kind of previewed and teased it there. So that's an important episode. 358, voice messages, is also relevant and will be referenced here. And also the spiritual Corinthians episode, where we went through the books of 1st and 2nd Corinthians. TPR 367, spiritual Corinthians, that's also going to be relevant because we spoke about some things in there. In 2nd Corinthians, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers. We spoke about it there. And 1st Corinthians chapter 7, both of those are relevant. And so those are the relevant episodes going along with this one. 356, knowing Yah. 357, Yosef and Asenath. 358, voice messages. And 367, spiritual Corinthians, in addition to any other relevant episodes that we may reference or speak about in this episode. But that's the foundation of what we are doing here in this episode, and the foundation of what we have done. Glory and praise of the Most High throughout this 8th season of TPR, which started with 351, the great 8th season, and has led all the way through the last episode, 370, and we are here at 371, what is love? So all praise the Most High. That's what we are going to do in this episode. So we kind of introed a lot of these points, like I said, in 357, Yosef and Asenath, and spoke more about it in the spiritual Corinthians episode. And what we have done, specifically in 356, knowing Yah, showing that, in order to truly know the Most High, our Father is a spirit, and those that want to worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth, not in religiosity, not in physicality, not in images, but in spirituality. And that verse is in John chapter 4, which we covered in the last episode, 370, in depth. We covered that whole chapter 4, and chapter 3, 4, and 5 of John. Messiah says in that John chapter 4, he says, You don't know what you worship. He says, our Father is a Ruach, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. He says, you don't know what you worship, So people professing that they're in the truth and have these so-called images and ideas of what the Most High is and what the walk should look like. And for a good majority of them, they don't even know what they worship. They don't know, they can't differentiate, what really is the truth, what really is the Most High versus, what they've been told or what they think, oh, that's New Age, just like we showed in 356, getting messages from animals. People say that's New Age, that's wicked. There's nothing wicked about it. It's Abba Yahuwah using his one creatures, the animals, to communicate with his other creatures, the humans. There is, when you live in your own world with the Most High, when you live in the house of the Most High, when you dwell under the covering and the shadow and the secret place of the Most High, Psalms 91, There is no new age. There is no dark this. There is none of these superstitions. To the pure, all things are pure, but to the defiled, even their mind and conscience is defiled, right? Like we covered. To the pure, all things are pure. You see the Most High everywhere. And this world has become so defiled in so many ways, even in the so-called truth community, minds and consciences being defiled, thinking everything is darkness, thinking everything is new age, when to the pure, all things are pure. If you know, you know. So we established these points. We've proven it and showed it and laid the foundation throughout season 8, 356, knowing on, just all throughout. And that's what we're going to continue to do in this episode, challenging and showing what really is love, not what we've been told and showed and given to us as false images, but what is the real pure truth. And that's what we're going to bring out and show. All right. So before we speak a little bit more, I'm going to play a voice message that's about 20 minutes long. And this is kind of a summary of a lot of the points and a lot of the things that you're going to hear in this voice message. Like I said, we started it in 357, Yosef and Asenath, covered a lot of the points. So it should be at least familiar if you're familiar with these season 8 episodes. So I'm going to let this voice message play. It's about 20 minutes long. And then we will go through essentially each of the points of the voice message and just elaborate and give some thoughts, show the scriptures, and just continue to build and take this episode where it may go. And then after we cover that voice message, there's like another additional one that's a few minutes long from the next day. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. And these voice messages that you're going to hear are from November of 2025. Just like that Instagram post I read was also from November 2025. And this episode that you're hearing right now, I'm here recording it on the last day of February 2026. So it may be some time by the time this episode is out and you're hearing it, but if it helps to give you some context or some understanding, I'm recording this episode 371, What is Love, on the last day of February 2026. And the voice messages that we're about to cover are from November 2025. So some time may have passed, some details may have changed, but that's perfect, according to the plan and purpose of the Most High doing this episode. So one other point before we let the voice messages play and we fully get into it. In TPR 360, the herbs and the seeds, another relevant episode, and 345, marriage consecrated, is also relevant, understanding how to be married to a spouse through being married to the Most High in the 7th covenant. 360, the herbs and the seeds, also has some relevant topics as for love and marriage and stuff like that. And at the beginning of TPR 360, the herbs and the seeds, I said, because when I recorded that episode, also here in February 2026, I said, I'm a single guy recording this episode. I'm not talking to anyone. I'm not courting anybody. And it was perfect to do that episode as a single guy so that I could impartially and almost hypothetically speak about the details that were in 360, because there was a lot of deep stuff in there, and it would have been inappropriate if I was married or in a relationship giving some of the details and things that I spoke about, because it just wouldn't have been, the topics in 360 were sacred and private. And so if I had been in a relationship doing that episode, it would have been way harder. But actually the fact that I was single, not talking to anyone, totally single, doing 360 was perfect, because it was almost like hypothetical. Like, it's not, you know what I'm saying? If you know, if you heard that episode, it was perfect. Glory and praise the Most High. So, and I went into the trenches talking about some deep things and brought out the points, glory and praise of the Most High. And then I said, now that we've done this episode, Most High willing, if and when, I'm in a relationship or get married in the future, then I can go on in the sacredness and the privacy of that relationship without having to even talk about those topics, because we went in 360 in depth, covering so many points. So now that information is out, Most High willing, if and when the time comes, I can move on in sacredness and in privacy in a relationship without even having to address those deeper topics. So it was actually perfect doing it as a single guy. And same thing here, also in the month of February, doing this episode, again, same thing. I'm single, not courting anyone, not talking to anyone, not in a relationship. It's the perfect time for me to also go into the trenches now and kind of speak about my experiences with love, and just very simple things, like not even from my past of when I was in darkness and anything like that, even just in the truth, what I've experienced and some of the false images and false ideas that I once was under, and these expectations. I came into the truth in 2020. So for the past 5 to 6 years, seeing my different experiences, different people I've come across in the truth, and some similarities and some differences, and what we are not doing, what we should be doing, we should be healing, and all this stuff. So I'm going to speak about these topics again from a single, perspective, so that when I give some details or whatever, it's appropriate to do it now while I'm single. So then, most high willing, if and when I am in a relationship or become married, these topics don't need to be brought up again, giving these details or whatever. I'm going into the trenches now, just like I did in 360, going into the trenches, pulling out the truth and bringing the darkness to the light, setting things straight, so that then I can move forward in sacredness and in privacy. Same thing here. We are going to dispel some of these false images that we've all had, that I've had, and bring the darkness to the light, getting it back in spiritual alignment, so then we can continue to move forward in pureness and in holiness without re-bringing up these topics and giving some details that it's appropriate for me to give now, whereas, being in a relationship or being married wouldn't be as appropriate. So it's quite perfect that we did 360 when we did. And same thing for this episode 371 is quite perfect. This is the perfect time to bring it all out, sort things out, speak things out, talk it out, go through the trenches, bring it out, and bring the pureness and the light of the Most High to these topics regarding love, so that we all can move forward in a better place moving forward. So that's where we are at. And the one other thing of encouragement that I would give to you if you're hearing this episode is, be open-minded to what we're going to talk about in this episode. Don't just jump to conclusions of that's new age, or hearing the terms or whatever, these terms that we have put on things and whatever. See past that and understand that there has to be a better way. Just like with everything we've talked about with the doctrine, right? There's the herd mentality of the so-called truth, right? And if you're listening to this podcast, if you listen to TPR, if you've heard season 7 and 8, that alone shows me that you are not following the herd mentality, or you at least see the problems with the herd mentality enough to even give these episodes a chance, because most people would just reject it and be like, nah, man, Rye's tripping or whatever. So if you listen to these episodes, I trust and I know that you're at least open-minded to hearing different perspectives and breaking the paradigm and not just going with the herd mentality. It's the same exact thing with these topics here. The herd mentality, the masses and the so-called truth have, and we've all been there. I thought for sure, this is what we have to do. Be not unequally yoked with unbelievers and stuff. But there's a whole other paradigm waiting to be spoken about and brought to the light. Just like with season 7 and season 8, there's a whole 7th covenant. There's a whole world in the truth, not the herd mentality, not just exposing Christianity, not just trying to convert people. There's this whole other wealth of wisdom and understanding. Glory and praise the Most High. It's His understanding. All the things that we talked about for hours and hours on this podcast in season 7 and 8, a whole other paradigm waiting to be tapped into. It's the same thing here with the topics of love. And this is what we are starting to tap into, and we already started it, but we are really starting to conceptualize it and bring it out. So have an open mind. And if the herd mentality is, as you're going to hear in these voice messages, that the herd mentality, particularly in the second one later on, which we'll get to, but I'll just say it now, the herd mentality is not working for the majority of people. Most people are just, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers. Just find someone who's in the truth that's a believer. That's not even working for the majority of people. Majority of people are single and have been single for years, that are in the truth, seeking the Most High. It's not even like, so we just have this quick Band-Aid fix of just find someone who's in the truth and whatever. That's part of the false image like we're going to talk about. And that's not even really working. So if you are a single brother and a sister and you're like, yeah, man, it clearly hasn't been working, be open-minded to hear the things that we're going to talk about in this episode, because it very well might just open up a whole other paradigm, a whole other avenue that you didn't even realize was available to tap into. And glory and praise the Most High, it is in fact not only available to tap into, but this is actually the pureness of what the Most High originally wants. And just like with the seventh covenant, the first is like the last, right? We said all throughout this 8th season, we're not going back to the sixth covenant, the Torah. That's where most people are going. Just, we're Hebrews, we're in the sixth covenant, keeping the law, statutes, commandments, keeping the Torah, which they're not doing. Going just because why? They identify with that. They don't know who they are. They have no identity, like we showed. Our citizenship is in heaven. We're angelic. We're spiritual. We're not going back to the peak of carnality, which is the Torah, the sixth covenant, being Hebrews. You're greater than Hebrews, as we said throughout this season. You're angelic, you're spiritual. We're going back not to the sixth covenant, not to the Torah. We're going back further there. Where are we going? To the garden, to the first covenant, where Adam was originally spiritual, angelic. And that's what the seventh covenant is, spiritual and angelic. So we're not just going back to the Torah, the sixth covenant of, oh, just find someone who's a believer, be not unequally yoked. We're not going there. We're going back even further to the beginning, to Adam, to male and female. The two shall be one. That's where we are going. And that's where the pureness and the other paradigm lies, is in that pureness, going back to the garden when it was even simpler than in the Torah of complexity, but in simple spirituality is where we are going. So if the herd mentality in the masses hasn't worked for you, like it hasn't worked for so many of us, be even more open-minded to hear out this episode, hear out the thoughts, and don't just label things as new age or whatever when there's a whole other paradigm. People could say so many of the things are new age. People were calling Messiah new age, like we showed in this 8th season. You have a devil. You're doing it by Beelzebub, right? They were calling him new age. You know what I'm saying? But he was tapping into true spirituality. And he said, y'all don't know what you worship. Our Father is a spirit. You know what I'm saying? So the Most High is spiritual. And that's what we showed all throughout season 8. The whole scriptures are encouraging spirituality over carnality. So carnality are these base primal thoughts, but tapping into spirituality and rising and elevating the paradigm is how you tap in to this great wealth of understanding. And Abba Yahuwah is so mind-blowing. Literally, the topics in this episode are utterly mind-blowing, bro. It'll show you the power of the Most High. It will blow your mind. Abba Yahuwah is so complex, so simple, but also mind-blowingly complex. We can't even comprehend what the Most High does. These spiritual things are mind-blowing. He created our bodies, which are so crazy. You cut your skin and your skin grows back. You drink water and eat food. Women have a child in their stomach and it grows and grows. And then all the functions of the human body are crazy, utterly, unbelievably mind-blowing. Like, how are you even hearing this right now? How am I even talking right now? Or every night we shut off and go to sleep for hours at a time, or you look outside and see the trees and nature and the oceans and the sand and the animals and the insects and the butterflies and how they work, these mind-blowing things that Abba Yahuwah has created. So why are we going to limit him to, just like in the truth, the peak and pinnacle of worshiping this great Abba Yahuwah is eating unleavened bread and sleeping in a tent? How carnal, how cringe does that sound when there's all this wealth of deeper understanding of getting signs from the Most High, from seeing animals and all these mind-blowing things. And even with love, the date that you met this person, all this natural gematria, that we covered in 356. Gematria is, something from the Most High. People could say that's new age, that's wicked. Absolutely not. Where do you think they got it from? They're manufacturing fake gematria with pro sports games because they see that the real creator, Abba Yahuwah, has natural organic gematria that would blow your mind. So tapping into that spirituality is what we are getting into, not just surface of labeling things. That's new age, that's wicked. Absolutely not. Getting signs from animals, that's new age, that's wicked. Absolutely not. We showed these points in 356, knowing Yah, and this episode goes right along with that. So just keep all that in mind. Hear out this matter. And what do you have to lose, beloved? If majority of us are single or struggling in relationships, and even just outside of the truth too, even just society in general, bro, relationships have been increasingly getting cooked, even from 2020 to now. Like, it's been steadily going bad. Like, obviously, a lot of lust and just cheating and no trust and financial hardships, all putting a hindrance on relationships, not just in the truth. This is for humanity and mankind. So I ask you, beloved, what do you have to lose? You know what I'm saying? It's not going to hurt you to think about these topics. And if anything, it may just open up an entire new lane, an entire new paradigm that you didn't even realize was able to be tapped into. So like I said, and like you'll hear in the voice messages, if we were all in happy marriages and I was like, nah, forget all this, let's do something new, that would be a problem. But majority of the people in the world, in the truth, and even really in the truth in the seventh covenant are, safe to say, struggling to find love, to identify what love is, to have success in relationships. And it's been so far gone on society, even in the truth, and just scaling it down to these different little, pockets of humanity. So doing these episodes and bringing these thoughts to the forefront is how we can actually make progress in getting back to the pureness and the spirituality of how it was intended. So you have nothing to lose, beloved. So be open-minded and hear out this episode, hear out the points, and we will explain and bring even more clarity. But this initial voice message that's about 20 minutes long, just like this intro is about 20 minutes long, is going to, just touch on the points, and we'll give even more details and just go and grow from there. So those are my thoughts going into it. Keep an open mind. You have nothing to lose. And most high willing, we're just going to bring out the points. All glory and praise to him. It's a beautiful, mind-blowing thing. So with all that being said, let's play this voice message from November 2025, and we'll speak more here in February 2026 and see where this episode will go and may go. All praise to the Most High. And also just a few more points before we let the voice message play. As you're going to hear, and we're going to explain way more in this episode, but the other important thing is the topics we're about to speak about in this episode is not anything new, and it's not anything new to me as well. Just like we said, it's certainly not new age, and it's not anything new, and it's not anything new to me as well. These are things that we and the OGs that have, in depth heard these podcast episodes and have been here for a while, the topics we're going to speak about regarding love and everything, I've been speaking about and known about these topics literally since 2020, have spoke about it on the podcast since 2020. And even as recently as TPR 303 End Times, we spoke about it there as well, which is season 6 in 2024. So only a couple years ago. So as recently as 303, we've talked about this, and as far back as 2020. And really when I first learned about some of this stuff was in 2019, before I even found the Most High in 2020. And this information, like I said, this will show you the power of the Most High. The things that we're about to speak about are literally how I found the Most High. Just like I said in 356, knowing Yah, with seeing crows. I started seeing crows in 2017, 2018, and 2019. And back then I still had like a new age understanding. And so I was like, oh, this must be my spirit animal, And then when I found the Most High in 2020, I was still seeing the crows. And then I realized, oh, it's not the universe showing me the crows. It's the Most High communicating with me, showing me the crows, right? So in 2017, when and I spoke about this in 356, in 2017, when I started seeing crows everywhere and hearing them, and no one else was noticing besides me, and literally like everywhere I went, I kept noticing it. That's what clued me in and showed me that there's something deeper than the world. I said, this is mind blowing. I'm like, how is it possible that like everywhere I'm going, I'm just seeing crows all the time, right? And that clued me into spirituality. Like there's something greater than the world, you know what I'm saying? And then for a couple years, I had the new age understanding of it, like, oh, it's my spirit animal, so-called, because I had the new age understanding. And then when I found the Most High, so that led me to the Most High. That's what was leading me to look into spirituality. And then when the Most High fully opened my eyes in January 2020, then I realized, oh, it was the Most High all along leading me back to him. So, for example, seeing crows is quite literally what led me back to the Most High. The Most High was using the crows to communicate to me, to clue me into spirituality so that I would start tapping into this stuff. And then the Most High just continued to guide me and keep me in alignment to fully understand true spirituality, which is not new age, but understanding the Most High and being a servant and a worshiper of him. So same thing with these topics regarding love. I discovered these topics in 2019, and this led me back to the Most High. And then even when I found the Most High, it showed the power of this relationship and the love and everything. So this is not just anything new that I'm just randomly coming out with. I actually knew about these topics before I even found the Most High, going back years now. And the reason why you like, other than the OGs that have been here for a long time, where I've heard like every single episode thoroughly, the reason why you may not have heard me speak too much about it is because in 2020, when I was first coming into the truth, I spoke about it a lot. And then I started to put it to the back burner. And then I would occasionally talk about it like in 303 End Times. But the reason why from 2020 to 2024, from, season 2 to season 6, where I spoke about it in 303, in between there was barely any mentioning of these topics. And then even recently, not too much mention of it until now. Why? Is because I put these topics to the back burner, because before you can understand, like we showed in 345, marriage consecrated, it all goes together. Before you can understand being married to a spouse, you need to, we all need to understand how to be married to Abba Yahuwah. First and foremost, we have to be married to him. That's what the seventh covenant is. It's a marriage, a reconciling to the Most High through Yahushua Mashiach, our high priest. That's first and foremost, because if you don't know how to worship the Most High in the seventh covenant, then any marriage is going to fail, because you need to be married to the Most High first and foremost. So the reason why I kind of put these topics to the back burner was because I had been single. And I'm like, I need to continue to build the doctrine and grow in the doctrine. So literally for years, 2020, 2021, 22, 23, 24, the paradigm shift started in 23, season 5. And then glory and praise of the Most High fully came into fruition in season 7 in 2025. And then here in season 8 in 2026. This is what we really needed, was to understand how to worship the Most High first and foremost. You can't even entertain a husband or a wife or love or marriage without being married to Abba Yahuwah first and foremost. And it's no coincidence that now, these years later, the Most High is interweaving these topics of love into season 8 and even into season 7 as well, because it all goes together. You get married to Abba Yahuwah so that you can be ready to be married to a spouse. These are not foreign concepts. These are not, just like we said in 345, marriage consecrated. You consecrate a marriage just like you get consecrated into the covenant of the Most High. It's all, and we showed it in the voice messages, 358. It all goes together. Abba Yahuwah is one, you know what I'm saying? It all goes together. These are not just foreign topics that are separate. It all weaves together. But first and foremost, primarily, you have to get the doctrine down. So I put a lot of these topics to the back burner for years, just literally patiently waiting and seeking the Most High, being diligent every day for years and for seasons of TPR, until the Most High fully brought it to fruition, giving us the deeper understanding of how to worship him. And now that we have that glory and praise to him, we're not just becoming lackadaisical saying, oh, we figured it out. We have the base, the lifetime foundation, season 7 and season 8. And now we're just continuing to build upon that foundation, building up our spiritual house even more, getting more understanding, getting more details about how to please and worship the Most High. And now that we have that foundation, the Most High can trust us to bring these episodes back up to the forefront concerning love, because we got these preliminary things in the lifetime foundation built first. So just understand that as well. These are not unrelated topics. These are very much connected with the seventh covenant, with the Most High and everything. And these are not new concepts that I'm just randomly coming out with. I knew about these concepts literally before I even knew the name Yah, before I even knew the Most High. I knew about the topics that we're about to speak about right here. And I literally put it to the back burner to understand our marriage to the Most High first and how to worship him. And now these things are being brought back up again. And they've always been there the whole time. But like I said, I was keeping it on the back burner. I was keeping it in the back of my mind. I was keeping it at the back of TPR, not bringing it to the forefront, leaving those episodes, leaving these points back. So I'm like, we can continue to build and get the doctrine. So just understand as well that this isn't just coming out of nowhere. These are things that I'm very much privy to, thoroughly vetted, thoroughly understood, glory and praise the Most High for years before I even knew the Most High. And he's just continuing to give the information, and we're just continuing to relay the information and bring out and elevate the paradigm and show the light and the true path and the true pureness and simplicity, rather than physicality and images. So just keep that in mind. Now let's get to the voice message and start to break it down. But listen to it first, and then we will go through it after it plays. I feel like your last message almost answered your own question about the partners and the twin flames and the marriage and everything, because you said everything that has become pure, everything that is pure has become confusing and muddying the waters and corrupted by the world and society, even marriage and stuff like that. So honestly, most high willing, I do hope that possibly coming back to the podcast, possibly speaking more about these concepts, because I definitely have been thinking about it and, have some things that I would like to say. So hopefully some of the questions would be answered in the future, Yah willing. But, right, like it is such a tricky topic. And I think also, too, that we kind of have a false vision of what marriage should be and what love is. For example, when we think of love, even in the truth, it's all actually very conditional, not unconditional love, but very conditional. For example, I love you because you're in the truth. I love you because you're a vegan. I love you because you like going to the gym. All of those are conditional love. I love you because of these things. Whereas unconditional love is I love you even if you're not in the truth. I love you if you're a carnivore and I'm a vegan. I love you if you're like going to the gym and I don't like going to the gym. That's actually true unconditional love. And think about us in the Most High. Think about the unconditional love that He had with us. How many decades of our lives did we cheat on the Most High? We have more bodies against the Most High than any ex of ours or any harlot. We're the biggest harlots ever because we were catching bodies for decades cheating on the Most High. And guess what? He still welcomed us back with open arms, the prodigal son. So shouldn't we be like that with if we know who this person who has been set apart for us is? That's the other thing is it's different if you know who the person is versus if you don't know who the person is. Like, here's my mindset, and these thoughts are kind of just all over the place, and that's why hopefully, Yah willing, I like to bring some structure in these thoughts to the podcast and explain it more. But these are just some of the highlights of things that I've been thinking on is I know who the person is for me. And it's no question, it's no doubt. I know who this girl is. So if that's my Eve and I'm her Adam, to me, I must keep waiting and waiting because I wouldn't be able to love another person because in the back of my mind, I know that this is the person that Abba Yahuwah has given to me and is my perfect mirror. So should I try and if she's hell bent on staying in the world and being wicked, am I going to wait forever trying to convert her? No. But here's the two important things from Paul's writings that are often misconstrued, right? People always say, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers, right? And they take that verse and use it in the context of relationships. But actually, in fact, that verse is not talking about relationships. And really, people misconstrue that and use it almost exclusively for the use of relationships. Be not unequally yoked with unbelievers. That's not even what the verse is talking about. And actually, as a matter of fact, I believe in 1 Corinthians 7, I think it is, Paul says, if you have a woman and she be an unbeliever, but she be pleased to dwell with you, don't put her away. And women, if you have a husband that is pleased to dwell with you, and don't put him away. For all you know, women, you could save your husband. And all you know, men, you could save your wives. And Ephesians 5, I show you a great mystery, just like twin flames and this perfect partner is a great mystery. It's hard to understand. And he says, you will present your woman to you take your woman to Yahusha, the high priest, to the Most High and cleanse her by the washing of the word. But so there's only one person that we can save in our lives. It's not our parents. It's not our brother. It's not our sister. It's not our grandparents. It's not even your children. For a time, you can save your children while they're babes, while they're little ones, when they don't know any better. But eventually, once your children are of age, you can't save them anymore. It even says that in 4th Ezra. It says, on that day, can we pray for our parents, our kinsfolk, our brethren? And it says, on that day, you can't pray for any person. You can't pray for your parents, your brother, your sister, not even your children once they're of age. When they're babes, yes, they fall under you, but eventually they outgrow that. But you know who's the one person in 4th Ezra that it doesn't say that you can't pray for? And all throughout the scriptures, you become one flesh. So you are your partner and your partner is you. And just like Paul said, women, for all you know, you could save your husbands, and men, for all you know, you could save your wives. The one person that we can save is our spouse, because you become one flesh with them. They're the one person that it's worth waiting for and worth converting. Now, for me, I know who this girl is. And so for me, I would rather continue healing, continue working on myself. And if the Most High brings this girl into my life and she refuses, she's not pleased to dwell with me, and she says, no, I don't want to do this, I hate the Most High, whatever, then yes, am I going to keep trying to marry her? No, then I would be forced to move on. And then I would make the choice, okay, Rye, are you going to stay single, or are you just going to marry someone else? That's when I would make that choice. But for the time being, now that I know who this girl is, I'm waiting for her. I'm waiting for the Most High. And like I said, if she came back and was not pleased to dwell with me and she said, no, I want absolutely nothing to do with this, yeah, then I would move on. Right. I wouldn't be unequally yoked with an unbeliever. But if she was like, okay, like I kind of okay, I'm kind of with this, like, even if she's not in the truth, quote unquote, then that is worth pursuing and waiting for. And like I said, that's my mindset, is I'm continuing to wait until I have a conversation with her. And if she says, no, I don't want it, then I make the decision, okay, am I going to stay single forever, or am I just going to marry someone else for whatever reasons? But that would also be, like, again, imagine Adam marrying not Eve. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So that's some of the thoughts on it. And like I said, it's a big factor. Like, if people have no idea who this person is, who their twin flame is, yeah, then it's hard to like imagine or whatever. But if you know who it is, like, and it's different for women, because then it's like kind of out of order of like, you have to kind of lead them. But Paul even said, women, you could save your husbands, because in the 7th spiritual covenant, there is no male and female. Not to say that you do things out of order, but in the 7th spiritual covenant, women can save their husbands. So that's just kind of my thoughts. There's so many things, but this is what I hope to bring clarity on. And like I said, this is true unconditional love, because right now I'm loving, even if Michelle, my twin, my perfect mirror, is in another relationship right now with somebody else, cheating on me, cheating on the Most High, guess what? I still love her, just like Abba Yahuwah loved me when I was cheating on him, when I was fornicating against him, doing all manner of wickedness. And he patiently, long-suffering, mercifully waited for me to come back, just like I'm doing with her, because that's true unconditional love. And I'm a vegan, and if she comes back and she's not a vegan, I'm still going to love her. Whatever her lifestyle is, yeah, if she's totally sinning and wicked, then yeah, that's got to change. But I'm not going to try and change her and make her a vegan. I'm not going to try and change her to do this, that, and the other. I'm going to love her, because that is the woman that the Most High has made for me. And that's why I love her, because Abba Yahuwah gave her to me. And I'm going to, Ephesians 5, try and take her to my high priest, Yahushua HaMashiach, to then take all of our spiritual sacrifices and all of us to Abba Yahuwah. That's what the Most High really wants. So I believe this is another paradigm that needs to be broken, is even in the truth, we have these false images in our mind. Oh, there's going to be this picture perfect believer out there, and you guys are going to get married and be not unequally yoked. But that's all conditional love. I love you because you're in the truth. I love you because you're a vegan. I love you because you're a conspiracy theorist. None of that is unconditional love. It's all conditional. And the reason why I believe this as well, like we kind of touched on before, is I tried with when I talked to her in 2023. She was in the truth, quote unquote. And guess what, Shells? She was just as hard to lead as a worldly person, because she thought I was going to take her away from the Most High. She thought I was going to hinder her. She thought she couldn't trust me. All these things, and she was in the truth. She read the scriptures. She had a personal relationship with Abba Yahuwah. So honestly, what I learned through that experience is that so-called people in the truth, boys and girls, men and women, can be just as hard to have a relationship with as someone who's worldly. So once I saw that and it didn't work, that was the Most High showing me, like, okay, I would definitely want to give this a chance with Michelle, even if she's so-called worldly. And yeah, if she's totally wicked and she says, I'm not with this, am I going to try and lead her? No. But if she's like just impartial and she's like, okay, Rye, I trust you, like, show me what's up. Yeah, I'm going to take her to the Most High. Absolutely. Because even someone who knows the Most High and reads the scriptures and has a relationship with the Most High, she was just as hard to lead, if not harder. And it's like that for males and females. We have this false image in our mind from social media and other things that this picture perfect believer is just going to show up and you guys are just going to get married in righteousness and praise the Most High. That doesn't exist. I haven't seen that in the truth or in my own relationships or anything. To me, that does not exist. And even if it did, it's all conditional. I love you because you're in the truth. I love you. That's all conditional love. It's not unconditional love. So I believe we've been sold that false understanding and that false idea of what love is, and that there's this picture perfect for man. Like, women are expecting this picture perfect man to just show up, and that's not realistic. And men are hoping for this picture perfect woman that you're just going to get along with, and that doesn't exist either. It's all about being compatible as partners and relationships. And again, it also has to do with, do you know who the person is? Because if you know who your John Doe is, then it's different than if you have no idea and you're just like, oh, whatever, I'm just hoping for the best. Like, that's different. So, but for me, where I stand, this is my thoughts and this is my mindset. And to me, there's so many scriptures, like I said, Ephesians 5 talking about a great mystery. And it says you take your woman to the Most High, because without me, she's not going to get salvation. The only way she's going to get saved is if I bring her to the Most High. And again, she's my perfect mirror. And part of the way that I found the Most High was through her. Everything that happened with me and her led me back to the Most High. So she played a part in leading me to the Most High. Just like if we're mirrors of each other, then I'm going to play a part in leading her to the Most High. But it took years. And like you answered in that message, who's going to go out there with the shovel? Who's going to put in work? Who's going to heal? Who's going to be patient? Because one day is as 1,000 years to the Most High. So if I have to wait 5, 6, 7 years, and I'm going to marry this girl for 60 years, then isn't that worth it? That's only 10% of our marriage that I have to wait. If I'm going to be married for 60 and I have to wait 6 years, that's 10% of the whole entire marriage. Isn't that worth it to wait? To me, yeah, absolutely. But people are rushing too soon. Oh, I'm lonely. I'm lonely. So they just rush it. Oh, you're righteous. Oh, let's just get married. That's not is that from Abba Yahuwah? I don't think so, but let's break the paradigm and see what Abba Yah says. And these are all things that I hope to bring to the podcast. And these are all years in the making, Shells. I mean, these are things that I was talking about in 2020 type of, not these advanced thoughts, but even in 2020, and even when I was first finding the Most High, I mean, these were things that I was sure about. And I kind of put it to the back burner to get the doctrine leading everything up to season 7. We needed to get the doctrine of how to worship the Most High first. And now that we have that, glory and praise of the Most High, now I'm starting to think about these things that I kind of put on the back burner, and I'm questioning, what is love? What is marriage? What is a partnership? And these are some of the conclusions that I've brought to glory and praise of the Most High. And like I said, I want to put a lot of this together, and it's not going to be for everybody, but season 7 wasn't for everybody. You know what I'm saying, Shells? I feel like we're at another paradigm. And people are putting themselves into a box, and people are putting the Most High into a box of this is what the walk has to look like, or it has to be this, it has to be that, where the Most High, glory and praise to him, is showing me to break the paradigm, to break the box, and to question everything. And I think that's actually the answer. So the journey and the walk in marriage is about healing. And I think people are not and just like you said, Shells, things used to be a lot more pure, but this wicked world has made it a lot harder. So people don't realize that sometimes you have to take 5, 6, 7, or 10 years to actually heal, but people are rushing too fast. Oh, it's been 3 years, let's get married. But what if you need 6, 7, or 8 to actually heal? So that's what I'm focusing on, is I'm continuing to heal myself and waiting, holding space for the Most High to make a way and for this girl to come back into my life. And like I said, it might just be a quick conversation and she's like, nope, I'm not about it. And then I could say, okay, well, I saw it through, but I didn't just rush. I didn't just settle for someone else because I'm lonely. And like I said, I think one of the biggest I think it all goes together with Ephesians 5, washing of water by the word, taking her to the Most High. And like I said, Paul's words, which he wrote Ephesians, but even the Corinthians, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers. They wrongfully put that as, that verse is not talking about a relationship. Yeah, it can be applied to a relationship, but that verse, the context, is talking about other people. It's talking about our family, our friends, our coworkers. That's what it's talking about. And in fact, it's not talking about a partner at all. It could be applied to a partner. And then the verse that is talking about a partner is talking about you could save your wife and you could save your husband. And like I said, 4th Ezra, it says you can't save your parents, your brethren, your kinsfolk, but it doesn't say you can't save your woman, because you can. And a woman can even save her husband in the 7th spiritual covenant. And in that 1 Corinthians 7, it says here's the final point, mic drop, glory and praise of the Most High. Connecting 1 Corinthians 7 to 4th Ezra and the eunuch verse from the other day. In that eunuch verse in 4th Ezra 16, it said, those that marry, be as though you'll get no children, and those that sell, be as though you get no gain, right? And what is that telling us? To focus on the spiritual. And in 1 Corinthians 7, it cross-references that, because Paul says, those that marry, be as though you're unmarried. He's cross-referencing 4th Ezra 16. So in 1 Corinthians 7, it says, those that do get married, even if you marry a believer, it's saying, be as though you're not married. What does that mean? It means that no matter who I marry, I need to continue to have my personal relationship with Abba Yahuwah. So if Paul in that verse is saying, no matter even if you marry a believer, be as though you're not married. So what is that telling me? Is that, and just like be not unequally yoked means that that person has the ability to bring you down. So if Michelle comes back and she's just impartial to it, and she's not going to stop me from going to the times of prayer 3 times per day, and she's not going to hinder me from, if she's not going to hinder me from worshiping the Most High, then the scripture says, even if you do get married, act as if you're not married, meaning, right, keep going to the times of prayer 3 times per day. Keep worshiping the Most High that you are. Act as if you're not even married, even if you marry a believer or if you marry an unbeliever. So that verse, what's the difference if I marry a believer or someone who's just impartial to it? If they're not hindering me and it says, act as if you're not married, then all it's saying is don't let that person hinder you or bring you down. And if she can't bring me down, she's not going to stop me from going to the times of prayer 3 times per day, then what does it matter if I marry a girl who's in the truth, but she's not trusting me and she's not letting me actually lead her, or Michelle, who's impartial to it and so-called not in the truth, but she's not hindering me. She's not stopping me from worshiping the Most High, and I can take her to the Most High. There it is. Say less. It even says, no matter who you marry, be as though you're not married. So what's the difference? Now, should I marry someone that's totally wicked and going to hinder me? Absolutely not. But if it's someone who's impartial and quote unquote in the world, yes, that is who you should marry, because they're not going to hinder you. And it says, no matter who you marry, even if it's someone in the truth, act as if you're not married. And it's cross-referenced to the fourth Ezra with the eunuch and the stranger and the pilgrim on the earth, saying, no matter what you do, keep your eyes focused on the seven spiritual covenants. So that's my mindset is, I know Michelle's not going to stop me from going to the times of prayer 3 times per day. And if she can help me in other areas, then yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Not just, oh, someone that's in the truth, you know? So hopefully this was a paradigm shifter. I think it is. I think it was. And glory and praise of the Most High. I mean, these are things that I've been thinking on for years and definitely in the recent months. And, you know, you know, praise the Most High. Like I said, I want to package all this together, but I'm grateful I have kind of a synopsis here in this voice message. So glory and praise to the Most High. And yeah, Shells, we're breaking paradigms out here. We're breaking out of the box, and yeah, we're chasing after the Most High and not just what everyone else is doing, you know, from relationships to doctrine to whatever. Glory and praise of the Most High. Hallelujah. I mean, so hopefully this helps, and definitely just food for thought all around. So all praise to Abba Yahuwah through Yahushua HaMashiach, the high priest. Hallelujah and amen. Perfect peace and love. And also, I got to add this point in. The other day, when the Most High gave me that great understanding about the eunuch verse, glory and praise to him, why was I even looking at that verse on that day? Is because the context of that leading up to it, when the Pharisees are asking, they said, is it lawful to put away your woman and marry another? And they say, well, what then? And he's like, no. And they're like, then why did Moshe say to give her a sefer of divorcement? And he says, Moshe gave you that commandment for the hardness of your heart. But in the beginning, it was not so. The Most High made them male and female. So the reason I was looking into that is that translates into, man, my twin flame's still in the world. My twin flame's not coming back. Can I just marry someone else? And yeah, you can. Like I could. It's lawful. You can do it. But in the beginning, it was not so. It's because of the hardness of your heart that you want to marry someone else, because you don't want to heal. You don't want to wait. You're hardening your heart instead of opening your heart. Did Abba Yahuwah harden his heart and turn away from us when we were fornicating in the world? No, he was waiting with open arms, and we finally came back to him. But if we say, nah, it's taking too long, I don't want to heal, that's hardness of our heart saying, oh, I'll just marry someone who's in the truth based on conditional love. So I believe, and that's what I was thinking about and looking into. And then the Most High revealed that great revelation about the eunuch verse as I was looking into it. So that to me is a confirmation in itself, is that I was looking at this verse about twin flames, thinking about it in that context. And as I was thinking about it, the Most High gave me a great revelation about something else, the eunuch verse, and it's all connected with fourth Ezra and everything. Glory and praise of the Most High. So that to me is what it's saying. They're saying, oh, can we marry someone else? And he says, for the hardness of your hearts, Moshe wrote you that. But in the beginning, it was not so. Adam and Eve, twin flames, the perfect mirror. So translate it to our time. Can we marry someone else who's in the truth because I don't feel like waiting? Yeah, legally and lawfully, according to the Torah, according to the Most High, you can do that. But that's according to the hardness of your heart. In the beginning, it was not so. Male and female, your twin flames, say less. All praise of the Most High. So I believe that's what that's saying too. So crazy. It's all connected. Hallelujah. I mean, so I'm glad that you asked these questions and brought this out. And I think it's all right on time. Praise the Most High. Truly mind blowing. So hallelujah and amen. So just to go to the beginning of the voice message and some of the points that we said, and like we said, we kind of introduced this in both 357, Yosef and Asenath, and also in Spiritual Corinthians 367. So the false image of the so-called truth, and even just all levels of love throughout society, is it's all based on conditional love. Like I said, you find someone that you are compatible with, and you love this person because of these reasons. Like, oh, for example, oh, I'm a vegan, so I love this person because they're a vegan, or I'm a carnivore and I love this person because they're a carnivore, or I like going to the gym, I love this person because they like going to the gym, or I'm a conspiracy theorist, I love this person because they're a conspiracy theorist. All of those things are conditional love. You love them because of these things. You know what I'm saying? And so then the question is, well, would you still love that person if you're a vegan and they're a carnivore? Would you still love that person if you're a conspiracy theorist and they're not? Would you love this person if they like going to the gym and you don't like going to the gym? So you can even just look at the worldly relationships. It's all based on conditional love. Whereas again, it all goes back to the Most High. Look at the unconditional love that the Most High had with us. The Most High patiently, long suffering, waited while we were cheating on the Most High. That's what true fornication is. James, you men and women who break wedlock, know ye not that friendship of the world is enmity against the Most High? True fornication is talking about cheating on the Most High. Why? Because he's our Abba. He's our husband. He's our everything, right? He's our husband. We're married to the Most High through the seventh covenant. And think of the long suffering and the patience that the Most High had with us, waiting years and years, decades of our lives while we were straight up cheating on him, catching bodies on top of bodies on top of bodies, cheating on the Most High, worshiping false gods, being in false religions, being in new age spirituality, all this stuff. And did the Most High just say, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers, get rid of them? No, he unconditionally loved us. Even when we weren't in the truth, he still guarded us and had patience with us and waited for us to come back to him, right? That's true unconditional love. So isn't that the type of unconditional love that we should have with a partner, right? So just say you meet someone, right? At 30 years old, you meet someone and you guys are both vegans, right? And you both like going to the gym and you decide you're going to get married, because you get along good or whatever. And then just say 5 years passes and this person is no longer a vegan. They say, I'm not a vegan anymore. If you married them based on conditional love, then are you still going to love them even when they're not a vegan? If they become a carnivore, or if they don't like going to the gym, all the things that you guys bonded over, what if they just don't like those things anymore? What if they change? You know what I'm saying? What if they grow? What if they evolve? Are you still going to love them? You know what I'm saying? So as for the be not unequally yoked, and like I said, people have a false image of that. They think a picture perfect believer is going to come into their lives. And actually what's interesting, you heard the word twin flame, which we'll talk more about. The funny thing is people think that twin flame sounds not only new age, but they think that it sounds mystical and made up, oh, your twin flame, right? They make that sound very made up and that, oh, that's not real, you know what I'm saying? But the irony is that's what really does exist, and the power of the Most High will show you that it really does exist. That's what the true faith is, undeniable proof and evidence that the twin flames are real. And you know what the real mythical made up lie is, oh, this picture perfect believer is going to come into your life and you guys are just going to be unequally yoked and you guys are going to worship the Most High together and live happily ever after. That's the lie. That's the delusion. That's the mythical made up thing that people are waiting for. And the real thing from the real creator, Abba Yahuwah, is twin flames. That's what really does exist. That's what, if you tap into the Most High and go within, seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Matthew 6:33. And we know in Luke 17, the kingdom comes not with observation, it's inside you. So when it says seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, it means go within to find the Most High inside you. He's inside us. We're the temple of the Most High. We worship inside our mind to worship the Most High. He's within. So when it says seek first the kingdom comes not with observation. It's not outwards, it's inwards. It's inside you. Go within to find the Most High, find out how to worship him, heal yourself, find unconditional love inside you so that you can love the Most High, love yourself, and love a partner unconditionally, not conditionally based on these things, but love them unconditionally, just like the Most High loved us unconditionally. And when you go within, you will tap into spirituality and find out that the twin flame is real, and the real lie, the mythical made up thing, is there's going to be this picture perfect believer that's going to come along. That doesn't exist. That's the lie. You know what I'm saying? But people say, oh, twin flames, that's the made up mythical thing. It's quite the opposite. That's the real. And this false image is the made up thing. So we're going to speak more about it. And we showed this in Corinthians, right? Check this out. So it's 2 Corinthians 6:14. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship has righteousness with unrighteousness, and what communion has light with darkness, right? People take this and use it exclusively in the context of relationships. Be not unequally yoked with unbelievers, right? this verse is not talking about relationships at all. Yes, it can be applied to a partner. It can be applied to a relationship. But first and foremost, looking at the context, nowhere and we covered this in depth in 367 Corinthians, nowhere in this chapter leading up to it does Paul mention anything about husbands, wives, partners, or relationships. Nothing about that. And then even in the verses after this, like we're going to see, he makes no mention of husbands, wives, spouses, partners, nothing. This is not this. Yeah, while it's applicable to a partner, it's true, right? Should you just marry someone that's totally wicked? No. But to use this as the core staple in the so-called truth of what a relationship should be not unequally yoked with unbelievers, is totally not true at all, because this verse is not even talking, it's talking about all these other people, our family, our friends, our coworkers, be not unequally yoked with them. It's not talking about a partner. And we're going to, and we proved it in 367 Corinthians by what it says here. And then in fact, 1 Corinthians 7 is that whole chapters Paul is talking about partners and husbands and wives and relationships. And that's where he said, for all you know, men, you could save your woman. For all you know, women, you could save your husband. So we'll get to that. But 2 Corinthians 6:14, be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship has righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion has light with darkness? And what concord has Yahushua Mashiach with Baal? Or what part has he that believes with an infidel? And what agreement has the temple of Elohim with idols? For ye are the temple of the living Elohim. As Elohim has said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, says Yahuwah, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, says Yahuwah Sabaoth. No mention of husbands, wives, spouses, and partners, relationships, nothing. It's talking about family, friends, co-workers. That's who it says be not unequally yoked with. And the point that we proved in Corinthians just by reading this, bringing it out, look at what he said. Wherefore come out from among them and be ye separate, says Yahuwah, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. And what does the scripture say? What man has brought together, let no man separate. The two are now one. So this proves that it's not talking about relationships at all, because he says, wherefore come out from among them and be ye separate. So if this is talking about a husband and a wife, he's telling you to separate what the Most High has brought together, the two that became one, you're supposed to separate and become two again. No, he says, don't let it be separate, right? Let not man put aside what has the Most High brought together, right? So this proves that it's not talking about relationships at all. Wherefore, come out from among them and be ye separate, says Yahuwah, and touch not the unclean thing, and I'll receive you. That's not talking about male and female, husband and wife. It's not talking about that at all. And how do we know? 1 Corinthians chapter 7, like we said, this whole chapter, Paul's talking about relationships, right? Look at the first verse, 1 Corinthians 7:1. Now concerning the things whereof you wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own woman, and let every woman have her own man. This whole chapter is talking about man and woman, husbands and wives, relationships. And this is where Paul goes on to say in line 16, for what know you, O woman, whether you shall save your man? Or how know you, O man, whether you shall save your woman? Right? So this is, and then in line 29, but this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remains that both they that have women be as though they had none. So we covered all this in the Corinthians episode 367. So see, in where it says, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers, the lines leading up to it was not talking anything about husbands, wives, relationships at all. And the verses after are not talking about husbands, wives, or relationships at all. And it says, come out from among them, be separate, right? That's not what the Most High says. What man has brought together, let no man separate, right? The two are now one flesh. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that it says Yahuwah is saying separate from these people, that alone tells you it's not even talking about husband and wife at all, because that's not what the Most High wants. He wants the two that became one to stay together, right? So that's the supposed be not unequally yoked verse that people use about relationships, clearly not talking anything about relationships. And then and Paul wrote 2 Corinthians, just like Paul wrote 1 Corinthians. And in 1 Corinthians 7, this whole chapter is talking about relationships from the very first verse and to the last verse of this whole chapter, 1 Corinthians 7. This is where he is talking about relationships and man and woman and husband and wives. And he says, line 16, for what know you, O woman, whether you shall save your man? Or how know you, O man, whether you shall save your woman? Right? And then line 29, but this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remains that both they that have women be as though they had none. And so like we explained in 357, Yosef and Asenath, and like you heard in the voice message, what this is saying is no matter who you marry, even if you marry someone in the so-called truth, act as if you're not married, meaning have your own relationship with the Most High, keep doing spiritual sacrifices, keep having you be married as an individual to the Most High. And yes, you're going to pray with your wife. Yes, you're going to do spiritual sacrifices together. But he's saying, even no matter who you marry, act as if you're not married, right? So if Paul is saying, even if you marry someone in the so-called truth, you still have to act like you're not married. What's the difference if it's someone who's, may not fully be in the truth? Like I said, are they totally wicked and an atheist and going to hinder you? No. But if it's someone who's just kind of halfway in the truth, what's the difference if they're in the truth? Because even if they're in the truth, Paul says you still got to act like you're not married, still keep doing your own thing with the Most High, still have your own relationship with him, still do spiritual sacrifices, keeping oil in your lamp. Or even if they're so-called halfway, not totally in the truth, it's all good because they're not going to hinder you from worshiping the Most High. So as you could see already in the so-called truth, wildly perverting what the scriptures are saying, just like they do the other scriptures. I'm saying, as Peter said, he said, in Paul's writings are some things hard to be understood, and they that are unlearned pervert as they do also the other scriptures, cherry picking, just like what the Christians do. Ironically, the so-called truth has become just like Christians, always trolling Christians and trying to expose Christianity, and then also cherry pick, just like Christians do. They take one verse and cherry pick it and make it a whole doctrine. The so-called truth cherry picks one verse, be not unequally yoked, and makes it a whole doctrine about relationships, when that verse, that chapter is not even talking about relationships. Yes, it could be loosely applied to a relationship, but where Paul was really talking about relationships is in 1 Corinthians 7, and he has a whole heck of a lot of other things to say rather than be not unequally yoked, come out from them. No, he's saying stay with your woman because you may save her. Stay with your man because you may save him, is what he's saying in the 7th spiritual covenant. If you know, you know. And we showed how that can even happen in 357, Yosef and Asenath, because we are all one in the 7th covenant. We are all rising to be angelic and spiritual. And the reason why a woman could save her man in the 7th covenant is because she has her head, her husband, Yahushua Mashiach, her high priest, and Abba Yahuwah is the covering over that. So she doesn't even need a fit when a woman in the 7th covenant truly understands how to worship and do spiritual sacrifices. She doesn't even need a physical carnal man in the so-called truth to teach her, because she's being taught by the real teacher, Yahushua Mashiach, her high priest, and she has Abba Yahuwah guiding her. So that's how a woman can rise to become angelic and spiritual, not to do things out of order, but she can save her man, just as Paul said. And same thing for a man saving his woman. We're all rising to become angelic and spiritual in the 7th covenant. And when you really know, you have all these other spiritual coverings, Yahushua Mashiach, Abba Yahuwah, so you don't even need a physical man to cover you and teach you about the 7th covenant when you have Yahushua Mashiach, the real teacher, showing you, and you have Abba Yahuwah as well. So we showed that in 357. So we're going to get to some other scriptures as well that were referenced in the voice message. And as for Paul's writings, we're also going to see in Ephesians 5, the great mystery. And we alluded to this when we went through the book of Ephesians, I believe in 368, going through Paul's writings. Again, we're going to speak about that as well. And we kind of teased it when we went through Ephesians. But in Ephesians 5, he says, this is a great mystery. What do you think it's talking about? It's talking about twin flames. And we'll show more. And so actually, let's just go to Ephesians 5 right now, because like I said, we're just following the progression of the scriptures that were mentioned in the voice message. So since we just talked about it, let's go to that now, right? Ephesians 5, starting at 22. Women, submit yourselves unto your own men as unto Yahuwah. For the man is the head of the woman, even as Mashiach is the head of the called out assembly, and he is the savior of the body. Therefore, as the called out assembly is subject unto Mashiach, so let the women be to their own men in everything. Men, love your women, even as Mashiach also loved the called out assembly and gave himself for it, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious called out assembly, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So see, this is also not a foreign topic. They're comparing Mashiach in the church to man and woman being married. These topics, man and woman and us and the Most High and everything, and through the covenants, it's all interwoven topics. This is not strange or anything out of the ordinary. So ought men to love their women as their own bodies. He that loves his woman loves himself. That's pretty crazy. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, even as Yahuwah, the called out assembly. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his woman, and they two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Mashiach and the called out assembly. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his woman, even as himself, and the woman see that she reverence her man, right? So, like we kind of teased in the episode where we went through Ephesians 3:68. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Mashiach and the called out assembly, right? So we see Paul making mention of multiple mysteries throughout his writings. For example, one of the most classic ones, like we covered, and like we always cover, 1 Corinthians 15. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in the moment, in the twinkling of an eye. And this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. What is that talking about? Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep. Sleep means die. He's saying we shall not all die, but we shall all be changed in the moment, in the twinkling of an eye. And this corruptible must put on incorruptible, and this mortal must put on immortality. That's talking about how in the end times, there's going to be people that never taste death, never physically die, and in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, get switched to an angelic, everlasting, spiritual, mind-blowing, immortal, angelic body, right? And Paul says he says, behold, I show you a mystery, right? Pretty mind-blowing, right? So what is a mystery in the scriptures? Something deep and spiritual and mysterious, right? It's a mystery. So 1 Corinthians 15, behold, I show you a mystery. And he's saying there's going to be some people who literally never physically die and get switched to an angelic, everlasting, spiritual body in the twinkling of an eye. Pretty mind-blowing, right? Pretty crazy, right? So that's Paul saying, behold, I show you a mystery. Now here in Ephesians 5, this is also Paul saying, this is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Mashiach and the called out assembly. So in 1 Corinthians, where he's talking about people literally never dying and becoming angelic and spiritual and everlasting and immortal, he says, behold, I show you a mystery. He just calls it a mystery. Here this says, this is a great mystery. You know what I'm saying? So what is this talking about, right? If you just read this on the surface, hey, it's just saying, yeah, men love your women just as Christ loved the church. Is that a great mystery? Is that a mystery, let alone a great mystery? You know what I'm saying? When you compare this mystery, it's just talking about man and women love each other and just like Christ loved the church, compared to the mystery in Corinthians, never dying and becoming angelic and immortal in a mind-blowing twinkling of a moment, going to a spiritual, everlasting, mind-blowing body. How is that even a comparable mystery, right? And here he actually says, this is a great mystery. He's not even just saying it's a mystery. He's saying this is a great mystery, bro. He's talking about twin flames, something that is mysterious, something that is spiritual, something that has been so far removed from our consciousness and from what we're familiar with, but the Most High is bringing it back up in these latter days. Glory and praise to him. This is what he's talking about. It's a great mystery. He's talking about twin flames, bro. That's why it says, so ought men to love their women as their own bodies. He that loves his woman loves himself, his perfect reflection, his perfect mirror, his twin flame, for lack of a better word. And we're going to speak more about it as well. But just to go through the message, if you know, you know. And if you don't know, just hang in there. We're making progress through the episode. So it's all good. We're going to speak more. But this is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Mashiach and the called out assembly. He's telling you it's a mystery. It's something spiritual, mind-blowing and crazy, hard to be understood. It's talking about twin flames. You know what I'm saying? So the mysteries that Paul is talking about from Corinthians to here, it's not just, these simple things. He's talking about mind-blowing spiritual things is what he's talking about. So this is the great mystery in Ephesians 5. And 5 is the number of Yah's grace as well. So side point. But that's it right there with the great mystery. And we're going to get to some other scriptures that were referenced as well. And most importantly, how could I almost forget this? In this same chapter, Ephesians 5, right? Look at what it's telling us to do, right? Therefore, as the called out assembly is subject unto Mashiach, so let the women be to their own men in everything. Men, love your women, even as Mashiach also loved the called out assembly and gave himself for it, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious called out assembly, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their women as their own bodies. He that loves his woman loves himself. Right? For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, even as Yahuwah, the called out assembly, right? This is the great mystery that he's talking about. And just like, what did Abba Yahuwah do for us? Abba Yahuwah, our high priest, Yahushua Mashiach, cleanses us, washes us, and presents us to Abba Yahuwah as clean and pure and born again and spiritual and angelic in the seventh spiritual covenant. What do you think men are supposed to do to their women? No matter who you marry, but Even with your so-called twin flame, you're supposed to be their high priest. This is the spiritual coverings. Woman's covering is her man, and all of their covering is Yahushua Mashiach. And who's all of their coverings over that? Abba Yahuwah. It's just different things. So for all intents and purposes, a man essentially becomes the high priest of his woman, of his family, of his children, taking them to the Most High, with taking all your spiritual sacrifices to your high priest, Yahushua Mashiach. Just what does Yahushua do for us? He perfects our spiritual sacrifices and makes them acceptable to the Most High. What do you do for your women and for your children? You tell them what to pray for, how to do spiritual sacrifices, and you take it all to your high priest, Yahushua Mashiach, and he takes all that to Abba Yahuwah, right? So what did the Most High do with us? Did he, when we were cheating on him for decades in darkness, catching all kinds of bodies, cheating on the Most High, did he say, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers and cast us away? No, he patiently waited for us in true unconditional love, not conditional, unconditional love. Abba Yahuwah loved us, and that is the same love that men are supposed to love their women. He says, as men, love your women, even as Mashiach also loved the called out assembly and gave himself for it, right? And then you skip to line 29. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, even as Yahuwah, the called out assembly. Abba Yahuwah loved us unconditionally, waiting with open arms. Even when we were cheating, doing all manner of darkness, he was waiting for us. This is true unconditional love, not just, oh, let me marry someone because they're also a vegan and they like going to the gym and whatever. See how carnal that sounds? But this right here, what is love? This is love, is waiting for that person, loving them unconditionally, even when they may be in the world, even when they may not be in your life, holding space for them, just like Abba Yahuwah did, holding space for us, waiting with welcome arms, saying, come on, once you come back, I'm going to wash you, cleanse you, and present you to the Most High, just like Yahushua did for us. That's what we're doing with our wives. If you could receive it, receive it. If the hardness of your heart is hardened, like we're going to see, then you can't receive it. But waiting with open arms, loving this person unconditionally, no matter what diet they're on, no matter what lifestyle they live, no matter what they like to do. This is just like when we were on an unclean diet, eating all the unclean animals and doing all manner of wickedness with our lifestyle. The Most High with open arms was just saying, come on, son, come on, daughter, I'm waiting. I'll wash you. I'll cleanse you. I'll make you perfect. I'll bring you back to me. This is love, beloved. And just ask yourself throughout this episode, ask yourself, what is love? And we're going to show examples in this episode, just like in 360, the herbs and the seeds. We showed some of the other verses of Paul's writings where he said, defraud not the other, and the man's body belongs to the woman and the woman's body belongs to the man. And we gave scenarios of what that verse commonly people think that it means, not to go into details versus what it actually meant. And I said in that episode, which sounds more like love to you, this breakdown that we're providing or what the common understanding is? Same thing here. Ask yourself, what the examples that we're going to show in this episode, what sounds more like love to you? The same love that Abba Yahuwah had to all of us, waiting with open arms, loving us unconditionally, or just on the surface, the common misconception, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers. That's not love. How is that love? How is that unconditional love? That's conditional love. I only love you if you're in the truth. I only love you if you're a conspiracy theorist. I only love you if you're a vegan. That's not love. What is love? This is love. Glory and praise the Most High. Look at the love that Abba Yahuwah had for us, waiting with open arms, willing to wash us and cleanse us and take us to the Most High. That's love right there. Through Abba Yahuwah, through Yahushua Mashiach. That is the love of Yah. That's how we know Yah. And this is what true love is. So ask yourself, the fruits will speak for itself. What is love? And if you can't receive it, it's all good. If you want just the herd mentality, the surface level, be not unequally yoked, and that's getting us nowhere, that's fine. But if you want this other avenue, tapping into what real love is, this is what it is. And how do we get there? Is by healing, going within to heal. The purpose, and we showed in 2020 when we were talking about twin flames, it's about coming home to three things is what the twin flame is. Coming home to yourself, coming home to your twin, and most importantly, coming home to the Most High. That's how you love the Most High, love yourself, and love your partner and love your neighbor as yourself. That's what this is about. It's about going within to heal, not waiting, not sitting there waiting and saying, when's the Most High just going to give me a picture perfect believer so that I never have to heal? I never have to face myself. I'm just waiting for a picture perfect believer to marry. That's not love. Go within, seek first the kingdom and all these other things. A wife will be added unto you. Where's the kingdom? It's inside you. Go within to heal. Face your fears, face your trauma. Learn, love, heal yourself so that you can love this person unconditionally, just like Abba Yahuwah did to us. Abba Yahuwah is spiritual. He's a Ruach, right? We need to rise to become spiritual and angelic in the seven spiritual covenant, to love ourselves, to love our neighbor, to love the Most High, and to love a spouse, rising to become angelic. Because guess what? When you have a marriage with someone, they may get on your nerves a little bit. They may annoy you. They may change your lifestyle. So if it's based on conditional love, oh, I only love them because they were super shy and they're a vegan. But what if they're not a vegan anymore? Or when you start living with them, they're not shy anymore and they start to annoy you. Then it's not going to work. But if you have true unconditional love and you say, man, I love this girl, even when she was in a whole other relationship or when she was cheating on the Most High or in darkness, and I still loved her. Then when she kind of gets on your nerves when you're living together, you could just laugh it off and it's all good because you're like, bro, I love this girl even when we weren't even together, when she wasn't even in my life. I love this girl. So how much more can I love her now, even if she may annoy me or get on my nerves or whatever? That's true love. And that's the point, is so that the relationship can thrive. But when it's based on conditional things, it's inevitable, man. This person's going to annoy you. And if they're not your Eve, they're not your Adam, then it doesn't fit. That's why the whole society is cooked when it comes to love and all this toxic thing. So, you know, the world will tell you that the things that we're saying here, this is toxic. You just need to move on and find someone that you're compatible with. Is that love? Absolutely not. I'm not doing what the world does. What is toxic? What is love? And let's break the paradigm and realize the things that they said was toxic is really what love is. And the things that they said what love is actually toxic. Just like the things that they say, oh, wait for a picture perfect believer. That's the lie. That's the mythical made up thing. And the real truth, the real thing is the twin flames, which they would say, oh, that's mythical and made up. It's switching it around. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil and light for darkness. This world has made everything pure defiled, and things that are defiled are called pure. But getting back to all things being pure and knowing the Most High is how we will tap into this true unconditional love. What is love? Say less. Let's keep going. So the next scriptures in the voice message and the cover as well is 4th Ezra chapter 7. And we broke down all the relevant verses here in TPR 350 revolutions. Quite literally, this chapter, 4th Ezra chapter 7, quite literally shows what happens to people when they die. Another great mystery, right? The world, has no clue what happens to people when they die. Oh, you go to heaven, you go to hell. You know what I'm saying? Has the lie, the made up thing, but the real truth is more spiritual and actually simpler, but also a little bit more complex. And it's just different than the lies that the world has told us. Just like, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers. And, twin flame is mythical and made up. Absolutely not. Right? So we covered this in details. What happens to people when they die in TPR 350 revolutions. It's 4th Ezra chapter 7. But just to get to the relevant verses. So first, in line 78, it says, now concerning death, the teaching is when the decisive decree has gone forth from El Elyon that a man shall die as the Ruach leaves the body to return again to him who gave it. First of all, it adores the glory of El Elyon, right? So 4th Ezra chapter 7, line 78. Now concerning death, the teaching is, so this is literally the teaching concerning death, showing what happens to people when they die. Now to get to the next relevant verse after it goes through what happens to people when they die. This is Ezra, talking to the Most High or talking to the angel that's speaking on behalf of the Most High, right? And so check out, after Ezra gets the understanding of what happens to people when they die, this is now 4th Ezra chapter 7, line 102. Ezra is talking and he says, I answered and said, if I have found favor in your sight, show further to me your servant, whether on the day of judgment the righteous will be able to intercede for the wicked or to pray to El Elyon for them. Fathers for sons or sons for parents, brothers for brothers, relatives for their kinsmen, or friends for those who are most dear. He answered me and said, since you have found favor in my sight, I will show you this also. The day of judgment is decisive and displays to all the seal of truth. Just like we are sealed with light in the 7 spiritual covenant consecrated by the truth, Yahushua Mashiach is the way, the truth, and the life. He consecrated the covenant. The day of judgment is decisive and displays to all the seal of truth, who is sealed with light in the truth, and everyone else is defaulted with darkness, like we showed, 352 Revelations, Resurrections. Just as now a father does not send his son, or a son his father, or a master his servant, or a friend his dearest friend to be ill or sleep or eat or be healed in his place, so no one shall ever pray for another on that day, neither shall anyone lay a burden on another, for then everyone shall bear his own righteousness and unrighteousness, right? So what we referenced in the verse, in the voice message, and what we see here is, right? So Ezra asks, and the answer is, so no one shall ever pray for another on that day, neither shall anyone lay a burden on another, for that everyone shall bear his own righteousness and unrighteousness, right? So those that were in the 7 spiritual covenant will get the reward of righteousness. Those that were defaulted in the 6th covenant will get the reward of unrighteousness, right? Can't pray for anyone. And when Ezra asks, look at who he mentions asking this question. I answered and said, if I have found favor in your sight, show further to me, your servant, whether on the day of judgment the righteous will be able to intercede for the wicked or to pray to El Elyon for them. Fathers for sons or sons for parents, brothers for brothers, relatives for their kinsmen, or friends for those who are most dear. And then the answer is no. The righteous get the reward of righteousness. The unrighteous get the punishment of unrighteousness, right? Fair enough. But look at what Ezra says. He mentions fathers for sons or sons for parents, brothers for brothers, relatives for their kinsmen, or friends for those who are most dear, right? So like I said in the voice message, for a time, parents can save their children because when your child is a child, a baby, or even a small child, until they reach a certain age that the Most High deems that they need to be doing spiritual sacrifices for themselves and they're their own person, they're a full-on adult and they need to work out their own salvation with fear and trembling and get oil in their own lamp. And whatever that age is, like, and again, the society say, once you're 18, you're an adult. That's not what the Most High says. The Most High might consider when you're 30 or 35 or, you know what I'm saying? So our society says when you're 18, you're an adult. That's not what the scripture says, So all these preconceived and misconceptions, but whenever the number is, the Most High and it could be younger, it could be what the Most High says once you're 15, you have to offer up spiritual sacrifices, but it could be way later, depending on how mature the person is, like we're still growing even at, 30 in our 30s, our brains are still developing, when you're 25, late 20s, 30, 35, like your brain may continue developing until you're like 35 years old. So that might be when the Most High says, all right, now this person should be offering up spiritual sacrifices. It's not just as simple as, 18, But the point is, when you have a baby or a small child, or even when the child starts to grow up, the parent, the head of the household, is in charge of doing spiritual sacrifices with the children and for them. When your child can't even speak and it's an infant, you do spiritual sacrifices on behalf of your child, covering them. You know what I'm saying? And then even when they're a small child and they can talk or whatever, you still do it for them. And then when they get a little bit older, you pray with them and start to show them the ways of the Most High and stuff like that, right? So for a time, the children are just considered underneath their parents' covering. That's why it says a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his woman, right? So before you get joined to your woman, you're under your father. You know what I'm saying? So whatever the age is, until you become of age and you're expected to do it for yourself, you're still underneath the covering of your parents, of your father. So the father's spiritual sacrifices are covering the children. But that's not permanently. That's only until the child reaches a certain age. So that's why it says fathers for sons or sons for parents. Can I pray for my dad or can my dad pray for me? And the answer is no. Everyone's going to get their own righteousness. So for a short time, you can do it. And that's valid, when they're a small child or whatever. But ultimately, once we all are our own person and we grow up and become adults, no one can cover you anymore. It's all on you. And notice the one thing that Ezra doesn't mention. He says, can husbands pray for their wives or can wives pray for their husbands? He doesn't mention any of that. He says fathers for sons or sons for parents. So you have the children and the parents and the children. And then he says brothers for brothers, right? So your brother and your sisters, relatives for their kinsmen, your other family members, your grandparents, your aunts and uncles, your cousins, right? Other kinsmen, your family members, right? Or friends for those who are most dear. So it goes through your friends, your family members, your kinsmen, your brothers, your sisters, your sons and your parents. And nowhere in that question did Ezra mention husbands for wives or wives for husbands. Why? Because just like the scripture said, the two shall be one flesh. So when you get married, you become one with your woman. So that's why in 1 Corinthians, when Paul said, for all you know, women, you could save your man. And for all you know, men, you could save your husband. Because that, like I said, for a time, that the father is the head of his children and is doing spiritual sacrifices for them. But eventually they're going to grow up and become their own person and you can't do it anymore. But what the Most High has brought together, let not man put asunder, let not man separate. Once man and woman come together and become one flesh, there's no separating them. They are together. So even until the very end, you guys' spiritual sacrifices are together. And yes, that's why Paul said, act as if you're not married. Make sure you both have oil in your lamps. You know what I'm saying? The woman can't just sit there and do nothing and just say, I'm good on under my husband. That's why Paul said, act as if you're not married. He's like, if both of you go so hard serving the Most High, worshiping the Most High, even as individuals, and what you guys do together, that's how you're going to make sure that you guys are bringing forth spiritual fruit in abundance, having oil in your lamps, leaving nothing to chance, you know what I'm saying? Because if Paul didn't give that warning, then like I said, that one could just lay back and just do nothing. And then they're like, no, Paul is saying, both of you go hard as individuals, getting oil in your own lamp, worshiping the Most High, understanding the ways of the Most High, and then come together and do it together. Boom. That's how you have backup plans on top of backup plans, insurance policies on top of insurance policies, watching your back, spiritual coverings in abundance, like we've covered through season 7 and 8, from the calendar to the times of prayer, to a husband, to the Yahusha, the high priest, to Abi Yahuwah. These are all coverings, all backup plans, from the small scale, the times of prayer throughout the day, to the 3 times per year, to the 7,000 years, all these different things in place, watching your back. That's what Paul was doing. He was laying another spiritual covering, saying, even if you do get married, act as if you're not married. Man, you get oil in your lamp. Woman, you get oil in your lamp, and then come together and do it together. Boom. That's covers on top of covers, oil on top of oil, fruit on top of fruit. Glory and praise to the Most High. So the reason why Ezra never mentioned husband and wife and man and woman here is because what man has brought together, let not them separate. Your children are eventually going to separate from you, and you can't cover them anymore. Your woman and your man, when you come together, it's forever. The two become one. So your spiritual sacrifices are together. So the one person that's worth waiting for and worth so-called converting, and you guys have heard me say in season 7 and 8, I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm not trying to save anybody's soul. I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm trying to get oil in my lamp. But what is a part of me is my twin flame. She's my perfect mirror. She's my Eve. She's the person that the Most High has set apart for me and made for me. And whether she's in my life or not, the fact is she is mine. So when she's not in my life, am I going to try and convert her and try and force her to do it? No. But what I am doing is waiting with open arms, so that when she comes back, I'll say, let me take you to my high priest. Let me show you what's good, and let's do this together and be one together. That's what it's talking about. So the one person, literally the one person, it's not your children, not your parents, not your brothers or sisters, not your family, not your friends. The one person that is worth holding space for is your perfect mirror, because they are you and you are them. Just like in Ephesians, man should love his woman as himself. He that loves himself loves his woman. They are you and you are they. And not like the New Age, how they say you're the same soul but twisted into two people. No, you're two different souls getting two oil in both of your lamps. But what the Most High is made as one. The two become one. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. So that's the one person worth holding space for. That's the one person that you can, quote unquote, save if you guys do it in the correct way in the 7th spiritual covenant. You can't save your children. You can't save your parents, not your brothers or sisters, not your friends, not your family. But the one person that it's worth holding space for is this individual, if you can identify who it is. And if you don't know who your twin flame is, why? It's probably because it's a perfect mirror of yourself. So because people are not healing and ducking from themselves, running from themselves, hiding from themselves, that's most likely why they're having trouble identifying who their twin flame is, because they don't know who they are themselves. You got to know yourself. And the more that you know yourself and go within and heal yourself and find the Most High, he will show you who it is, because as you go within to find yourself, you'll find them, because they are you and you are they. That's what it's talking about. So if you have no idea who the twin flame is in your life, that's okay. It's all good. It may be revealed to you. And in the meantime, you have to heal. And this is what people are not doing. They're just waiting. Be not unequally yoked. I just want a picture perfect person on a silver platter handed to me by the Most High, so I never have to heal. I never have to work. I never have to go within. I never have to change. They could just, be just perfect, just like me. We're not perfect. The only way to actually heal and love someone unconditionally is to go within and do the work. Who's going to go out there with the shovel? Who's going to put in work? Glory and praise the Most High. These are all relevant points. So the one person that it's worth holding space for is your Eve, is your Adam, because they are the perfect reflection mirror of you. And the two shall be one flesh. So say less, all praise the Most High. And another scriptural thing that we mentioned in the voice message as well is, and not even scripturally, but just straight up, how, again, if the twin flames, it's your perfect mirror, like a reflection of you, essentially. And so your lives will very much mirror each other. And so for me, my twin flame played an important part in me finding the Most High. The things that me and her went through together actually led me back to the Most High. So she played a huge role in me finding the Most High and actually leading me back to the Most High, right? And so if she's my perfect mirror, then her life is going to very similarly and very closely resemble and reflect my life. So in my life, she played a very important part in me finding the Most High. Now, if that's reflected in her life, what does that tell you? That I'm going to play a part in leading her back to the Most High, right? Just as she played a large part in me finding the Most High, that means I'm going to play a part in leading her to the Most High, helping her find the Most High, because your lives are reflections of each other, mirrors of each other. And here's the other scriptural point as well. What happened in the very beginning, right? Adam was spiritual, right? And he got brought into carnality when he ate the fruit. And who gave him the fruit to eat? His woman. So ironically enough, right, just like we said, the first is like the last is like the first. Adam came in spiritual. He was angelic and spiritual, and he got brought into carnality when he ate the fruit. We came in carnal and physical, and Yah willing, we are leaving 1 Corinthians 15, being switched to a spiritual, everlasting, angelic body. So Adam came in spiritual and left carnal. We came in carnal, and Yah willing, are leaving spiritual, right? And so that's a very important thing with the doctrine. And how did Adam become carnal? Is because his woman gave him the fruit to eat. So Adam's woman brought him carnal. Don't you know the first is like the last and the last is like the first? What do you think's happening now? Glory and praise of the Most High. Instead of my woman making me carnal, just like what happened to Adam, the reverse is happening. At the first is like the last. This time around, just like Adam came in spiritual and left carnal, we are coming in carnal and leaving spiritual. Adam's woman is what brought him from spiritual to carnal, and glory and praise the Most High, Yah willing, I'm going to be the one that brings my woman from carnal to spiritual, just like she played a part. So check it. In the first time around, Adam was spiritual and left carnal, and his woman brought him from spirituality to carnality. We came in carnal and are leaving spiritual. And like I said, my woman, my twin flame, played a part in me going from carnal to spiritual, because I was in darkness, but everything that happened with me and her led me to find the Most High, and finding the Most High, he showed us the 7 spiritual covenant, elevating us from carnality to spirituality. So it's the same thing. And then on top of that, it's also another role reversal of Adam's woman brought him to carnality. We are bringing our women to spirituality, making them angelic, making them spiritual. So it's actually perfect. Adam was spiritual and left carnal, and his woman gave him the fruit of carnality to eat, making him carnal. We came in carnal and are leaving spiritual, and my woman led me to eat the fruit of spirituality, because everything that went with her led me to find the Most High, and he gave me the fruit of spirituality to eat. So literally, Eve brought Adam to carnal. My version of Eve led me to become spiritual. Glory and praise of the Most High. And on top of that, I will now be waiting with open arms to feed her the fruit of spirituality, to make her angelic, to make her spiritual as well. So there's even scriptural parallels right there. Very important with the doctrine. The first is like the last, and all those different parallels. So that's mind-blowing too. Right? And so, like we also say with the scriptures, 1 day is as 1,000 years of the Most High, and 1,000 years as 1 day. And like we said in the voice message, right? If you're looking to be married with a lifetime foundation for 60 years to a partner, then what's 6 years at the beginning is 6 years of separation, where you have to put in work, where you have to heal, where you have to learn the doctrine and go within. That's another reason why people haven't met their partners, no matter who they're looking for, is because they don't even know how to worship the Most High yet. That's another big reason, twin flames aside, as to why people are not coming into union, because like we showed and proved in 357 and just all throughout it, you have to be married to Abba Yahuwah first. And people think that they are, oh, I'm in the truth, I know the name of Yah, I know Christianity is a lie. That's not what makes you married to Abba Yahuwah. What makes you married to the Most High is knowing how to worship him in the 7 spiritual covenant through spiritual sacrifices, through your high priest Yahushua Mashiach, to worship Abba Yahuwah. That's what allows you to worship the Most High. And that's why people are not finding partners, is because, like for me, the Most High was holding back my partner for years so that I could learn the doctrine, continue to grow, and figure this information out on how to worship him first and foremost. But people are not healing. People are not putting in work. People are not seeking the Most High 10 times more. They're just sitting around doing nothing. Oh, I gave up lust. I stopped smoking weed. That's not what makes you ready to be a husband. That's not what makes you ready to worship the Most High. You got to get the doctrine down and learn all these deeper things about unconditional love, how to be a true partner. And people are not doing that. People are not healing. And so they're just sitting there waiting, just like everything. They think it's a physical mark of the beast. They think it's a physical antichrist. They think the Messiah is physically coming out of the clouds. And we showed in the last episode and all throughout season 7 and 8, it's a spiritual mark of the beast. Antichrist spirit is already in the world, according to John. And the kingdom comes not with observation. It's inside you. It's all spiritual. So everyone's just waiting on everything carnal. I want a carnal, perfect woman who's in the truth to just be given to me on a silver platter, and I never have to heal. I never have to do anything. And we just get happily ever after. Is that realistic? Is that love? Is that from Abba Yahuwah? No. Abba Yahuwah, look at nature. Does not nature itself tell you that? How do you grow a plant? How do you grow a tree? How do you grow fruit? Is by tending to it, watering it, letting it breathe, planting, purging, trimming, snipping, all this growth and healing to bring forth fruit. When does the Most High just snap it? When do you just go out and plant a tree and just snap your fingers and it just starts growing and producing fruit? Nowhere. You got to put in work. You got to work with your hands. You got to go to the trenches. You got to put in work. You got to heal. For everything, to grow a tree, to grow a plant, everything requires work and action, and people are not doing any of that. They just want it all on a silver platter. I'm just going to sit here and wait for the Most High to put a picture perfect girl right before me, and I never have to heal. I never have to do anything. Is that of the Most High? What about that is of the Most High? Look in nature itself. All these things that are of the Most High, trees and fruits and all this stuff, how it grows, how it takes years and months and laboring and patience and all these fruits of the Ruach spiritual things. That's how you bring forth the fruit. But so then that's with the plants, the one creation of the Most High. And then you look at humans who were also considered as plants, were the first fruits, were all these things. And then people just say, oh, I'm not going to work. I'm not going to heal. I'm not going to be patient. I'm not going to labor. What about that is of the Most High? Why? Just because you cherry picked one scripture and said, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers. What do you think that makes it from the Most High? No, let's not only take the scriptures, let's stop perverting scriptures and look at the universal spiritual laws of how the Most High works, growing us, patient with us, watering us, planting us, purging us, all these things to bring forth spiritual fruit. That's in nature with trees, same thing with relationships, same things with us with the Most High. It's all the same parallels. So again, what is love? Cherry picking one scripture, be not unequally yoked, and waiting, not doing any work, just sitting there waiting for the Most High to give you something perfect, or going out to the trenches with the shovel, putting in work, planting, purging, watering, growing, patience, seeding, all this stuff to bring forth the spiritual fruit. It speaks for itself. If you know, you know, say less. So people are not healing, and we're going to speak about that in a moment as well. And by the way, I've known who my twin flame is since 2019 as well. So again, this is nothing new. And just some other scriptural points before we speak more about people not healing and just the human nature that's going on in the truth and just society and everything. Some other scriptural precedents as well for these concepts we covered in 357, Yosef and Asenath, right? And we explained this point, right? Yosef was a Hebrew and Asenath was a so-called Egyptian, a so-called other nation. She wasn't in the truth. And that whole book, Yosef and Asenath, like we covered in 357, was about her converting, Yosef helping her, doing spiritual sacrifices with her, and her own conversion, getting oil in her lamp, coming into the covenant. But when they first met, Yosef prayed. We covered the verses when he prayed for her and what he said and how that should be applicable to us praying for our women, you know? But when Yosef met Asenath, did he say, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers? Did he reject her and say, get away from me, you're a heathen, you're not in the truth, you're not in the so-called truth? Absolutely not. He offered up spiritual sacrifices for her and with her, prayed for her, and held space for her to find the Most High for herself. And then when she found the Most High, they came together and he really showed her what's up, really put her on game, really showed how to worship the Most High, right? So that's an example right there. He didn't just say, be not unequally yoked. He loved her, had unconditional love for her, and held space for her. That's a perfect example. And in that episode, we showed the parallels to the book of Tobit. And like we said in 357, Tobit and Yosef and Asenath show us how to be married, because in Yosef and Asenath, you have a righteous man and a so-called other nation, and it gave the answer, spiritual sacrifices. That's how you get married. And Tobit has two righteous people, Sarah and Tobias, and their answer to how to get married was spiritual sacrifices. And we showed in 357. So whether someone's in the truth or not in the truth and anywhere in between, the answer how to be married is spiritual sacrifices. Say less. It's that simple. So both of these books show it. And we can even see unconditional love in the book of Tobit. Why? Because in the book of Tobit, Tobias married Sarah. And guess what? Sarah was engaged to be married to 7 men before Tobias came through, and she tried to lie with those men, and a demon kept killing the men in the marriage chamber because they didn't know how to do spiritual sacrifices. And then when Tobias came through, and did the spiritual sacrifices, it worked, right? Now check it. Why didn't Tobias say, man, this girl has tried to be with 7 men. I'm not going to be with her. I'm not going to wait while she's with other men. He held space and waited with open arms and loved her unconditionally. Let's show it. Tobit chapter 3, line 8. Well, let's look at line 7. Tobit 3:7. It came to pass the same day that in Ecbatane, a city of Madai, Sarah, the daughter of Reuel, was also reproached by her father's mates because that she had been married to 7 men whom Asmodeus, the evil Ruach, had killed before they had lain with her. Do you not know, said they, that you have strangled your men? You have had already 7 men, neither were you named after any of them, right? 7 men, right? And then just some other examples. Tobit 6:13. Then the young man answered the angel, I have heard, brother Azaryahu, that this maid has been given to 7 men who all died in the marriage chamber, right? So Tobias is fully aware that, this woman had been given to 7 men, tried to lie with them, they all died, right? And let's continue reading in this chapter. Let's just keep reading. And now I am the only son of my father, and I am afraid, lest if I go in unto her, I die as the other before. For a wicked Ruach loves her, which hurts nobody but those which come unto her. Wherefore I also fear lest I die, and bring my father's and my mother's life because of me to the grave with sorrow, for they have no other son to bury them. And people could say, see, that's New Age, that's wicked, right? A demon loving this girl, It's in the scriptures, right? Spiritual things. You don't know what you worship. Then the angel said unto him, do you not remember the precepts which your father gave you, that you should marry a woman of your own kindred? Wherefore hear me, O brother, for she shall be given you to be your woman, and make no reckoning of the evil Ruach, for this same night shall she be given you in marriage. And when you shall come into the marriage chamber, you shall take the ashes of perfume and shall lay upon them some of the heart and liver of the fish and shall make a smoke with it, right? That's wicked. That's New Age. That's witchcraft, right? No, he's doing spiritual sacrifices. And check this out. You want the mic drop for twin flames? Here's another one. It's in the scriptures like we've showed and we can show. Sirach 42:24. Those numbers are mirrors of each other. Sirach 42:24. All things are double one against another, and he has made nothing imperfect. Sirach 42:24. Look at those numbers. 4224. All things are double one against another, and he has made nothing imperfect. What's that talking about? Ephesians 5, a great mystery. What's that talking about? It's twin flames, say less. And right here, Tobit 6:17. This is fire, praise and glory to the Most High. Check this out. Tobit 6:17. And the devil shall smell it and flee away and never come again anymore. But when you shall come to her, rise up both of you and pray to Elohim, which is merciful, who will have pity on you and save you. Fear not, for she is appointed unto you from the beginning, and you shall guard her, and she shall go with you. Moreover, I suppose that she shall bear you children. Now when Toviyahu had heard these things, he loved her, and his heart was effectually joined to her. Say less. That is love right there. You ask, what is love? We ask, what is love? This is love right here. Tobias didn't say, man, she's been with 7 dudes, man. I'm not going to be with her. He loved her unconditionally. And guess what? Fear not, for she is appointed unto you from the beginning, predestined, predetermined, appointed unto you from the beginning. This is your woman, and she is yours. And guess what, right? People say, the twin flame, that's not from the Most High. Why would the Most High have the twins have to be apart and heal separately? Because this damage, humanity is so damaged, this wicked world, this carnality, this flesh is so cooked that the twin flames now need time and separation to heal as individuals so that they can love one another unconditionally. This world has been going on for 6,000 years since the days of Adam in the garden with Adam and Eve. So yes, the things that were once pure, the things that were once easy and simple and spiritual and angelic have become carnal, primal, and complex. So now the Most High uses the separation when the twin flames are not in each other's lives to heal, to get the doctrine right. Me and my twin flame being in separation this whole time has led me to find the Most High, to understand the doctrine, so that now I can learn to love the Most High and worship him. And now I can wait with open arms, waiting for her to come back so I can show her. But if we were just together this whole time, I never would have found the Most High. I never would have learned about spiritual sacrifices, and then me and her both would have been cooked. So the reason for the separation in the so-called twin flames, if you know, you know, is because we need time to heal. Why? Because the things that were pure have become carnalized and corrupted and are so far gone. So now that we need time to heal. But check it out, right? Fear not, for she is appointed unto you from the beginning, and you shall guard her, right? So if she was appointed unto Tobias from the beginning, why wouldn't the Most High just have them be the first two to come together? Why? Because it was fulfilling a greater purpose. Proverbs 3:5, lean not in your own understanding and trust the Most High in all your ways. Romans 8:28, all things work together for good. So people say, twin flames, that's wicked, right? Why are you waiting for a girl that's not in your life right now? You just need to move on and find someone based on conditional love. Why? Did Tobias say, man, that girl tried to lay with 7 men, I'm not going to marry her? No, it worked for the plan and purpose of the Most High. It wasn't just as simple as, yeah, they had been preordained from each other from the beginning, but you know what else was in that plan? Was for her to try and lay with 7 men and none of it worked, and then to go back and find her true man once again to be reconciled together. See, it worked for the plan and purpose of the Most High. It's not as simple as, oh, she's not in your life, just forget her, man, find someone else. That's not love. That's not Abba Yahuwah. This is Abba Yahuwah. This is Yah. This is love, bro. Being appointed unto the beginning, and Tobias didn't care if she had been with 7 other men or tried to be, because he loved her unconditionally. This is true love. What is love? Say less. All praise to the Most High. Scriptures on top of scriptures, facts on top of facts, precepts on top of precepts, glory and praise the Most High. And then the next chapter, Tobit 7:11. I have given my daughter in marriage to 7 men who died that night they came in unto her. Nevertheless, for the present be married. But Tobiah, who said, I will eat nothing here till we agree and swear one to another, right? So all these scriptures showing that this woman had been tried to be with 7 men before Tobias came through, yet she was still ordained from the very beginning to be with him, right? So it all worked together for good, and he loved her unconditionally. He didn't say, oh, she's not in my life, she was trying to be with other guys, blah, blah, blah. None of that, bro, because that's all beta, that's simp, that's not real love. Real masculine is doing what Abba Yahuwah did. Even when we had bodies on top of bodies cheating on the Most High, Abba Yahuwah was waiting with open arms because he's righteous, he's masculine. That is true love. Glory and praise the Most High, and Abba Yahuwah has given us a glimpse into it, a glimpse. The mercy and long-suffering of Abba Yahuwah is wild. He waited decades, years on top of years, when we were catching bodies on top of bodies. So I think we as men can wait a few years for our wives to come through, even if they may be in another relationship or not with you currently. We can gird up and be strong. Why? Because Abba Yahuwah has strengthened us through Yahushua Mashiach in the 7th spiritual covenant. This is love. Show me not just a cherry-picked scripture of be not unequally yoked with unbelievers. Show me these witnesses. Show me the Spirit. Show me the Ruach. Show me these deeper levels of what real love is. And this is where we got to after years of seeking the Most High 10 times more, and him showing us these deeper things. Glory and praise the Most High. The more that we know Yah, the more that we love him and understand his love that he had for us, the more we can have love for a partner, no matter who it is. And it's preordained. It's destined from the beginning. Glory and praise the Most High. But that doesn't mean there's not going to be roadblocks. That doesn't mean there's not going to be obstacles or separations. The point is to heal and to learn in that meantime. Tobias had to learn how to do spiritual sacrifices so that it would work with his woman. We had to learn about spiritual sacrifices so it can work with our women. We got to learn. We got to heal. We got to love. All praise the Most High. What is love? Say less. If you know, you know. And so just a few other scriptural points before we continue on with this episode and kind of go in a different direction with society things and even in the truth so-called as well, kind of giving some experiences and some points about that. And then we'll get into the other voice message as well. But like you can hear at the very end of the voice message, how I referenced the eunuch scripture, and that was explained in TPR 358, the voice messages explaining what it means to be a spiritual eunuch, having spiritual fruit. And we also spoke about it in the last episode as well, 370. And so, and we covered it's in Matthew 19 that led to that. Like I said, I was looking at Matthew 19 in the context of twin flames. And when I was thinking about that, the Most High gave a great revelation about what it was really talking about, the spiritual eunuch. And like we said, for the hardness of their hearts, you know, they're like, my twin flame's not coming back. Can I just marry someone? And he's like, you can. But in the beginning, it was not so. So see, they were hearkening back to Moshe. They said, then why did Moshe give us to write a sefer of divorcement, right? They were hearkening back to Moshe, the complexity, the carnality in the 6th covenant, carnal, physical. But what was Messiah trying to do? Show them that the last is like the first, the 7th covenant is like the first. He says, don't just stop at the Torah, don't stop at the 6th covenant, don't stop at Moshe, don't stop at being Hebrews, go back to when it was angelic and spiritual, go back to the garden. In the beginning, it was not so, you know what I'm saying? So it's actually only fitting that the Most High is making the twin flames relevant for us in these end times at the very end, bringing it just like it was in the beginning, whereas the hardness of their hearts of like, oh man, you know, I don't want to wait, I don't want to heal, you know, just, can I just marry someone else? hearkening to complexity and carnality, but in the spirituality in the garden, in the first covenant, it was way simpler, just like it is here in the seventh spiritual covenant. So that's that point. Like I said, we've been building on these points, and it all goes together. Truly, it does. That's why these thoughts are not separate things. When I'm reading the scriptures and thinking about the twin flames, the Most High even also gives deeper understanding about the spiritual eunuch and how it all goes together, like all these verses. And, it's kind of scattered throughout these episodes, but 358 voice messages, the last episode 370, we've showed it and talked about it and how it all goes together, the cross references, spiritual, all this type of stuff. So before we kind of show what has gone on in not only society, but also even in the so-called truth, another important point as well is, again, how do you find who your twin flame is to go within and to heal and everything, but people are not doing that. And here's another thing that we've spoken about, obviously, all throughout season 7 and season 8 is, all the so-called truth going so far astray and not following the Most High in our spiritual wilderness. 353, we're in the spiritual wilderness. People don't even know it. They're waiting for a physical second exodus when we're already in the spiritual wilderness. People are already backbiting and complaining against the Most High, not worshiping the Most High, provoking the Most High, going on lunar calendars, taking money, turning it to a den of thieves, getting worshipped in the comments, exposing Christianity, all these things that are not even anywhere close to aligned with the Most High. People are doing that. And here's another side point as well is, like, certain people that are on lunar calendars and have fallen so far astray, people that I loved and respected and everything like that, have fallen so far astray. And guess what? They have a so-called righteous woman, someone who's so-called in the truth. And guess what? That righteous wife is not stopping them from being on a lunar calendar. That righteous so-called wife, again, outward appearance is not true unconditional love, but conditional. Oh, you look like you're a Hebrew. You look like you're in the truth, right? That's not unconditional love. That's conditional. And these conditional wives and relationships are not even saved. Like, you know what I'm saying? So what is the benefit of having a so-called righteous woman other than outward appearances, right? That's why people in the so-called truth are getting married based on outward appearances. Oh, look at my righteous, physical, righteous Hebrew wife that I have. What benefit is it if she's not even righteous enough or smart enough to realize that you guys shouldn't be on a lunar calendar, because it's the blind following the blind. The man is not in unconditional love. He's just going wherever, going on lunar calendars, and the blind feminine is just following right along. So what is the benefit of having a so-called righteous wife if you're both going astray? You know what I'm saying? So it's not like this righteous wife is going to keep you aligned and keep, like, you know what I'm saying? She's just blindly following. She doesn't know, you know what I'm saying? So she's on a lunar calendar because her husband is saying, let's be on a lunar calendar. So what is the benefit of having a so-called, because the reason is because that's not their twin flame. That's not their Eve and their Adam. They're with someone based on conditional things. So it's not really aligned with the Most High. Just like exposing Christianity and being on lunar calendars is not aligned with the Most High. So the Most High's like, fine, whatever. Like, for the hardness of your heart, you just want to marry anyone. You don't want to heal. You don't want to take the time. So the Most High is like, all right, fine. You know what I'm saying? So what is the benefit? And that's why, too, in the scriptures we showed in the New Testament, women, don't adorn yourself with gold and modest apparel and all this stuff, but with all these spiritual fruits is what Paul and Peter told the women to adorn themselves with. But again, people are not doing that, not getting the spiritual fruits on how to worship the Most High. They're all physical. Oh, look, they look like a Hebrew. They're dressed like a Hebrew, right? That benefits you nothing. And the proof is that her Hebrew garments isn't stopping you from being on a lunar calendar, making people twofold childs of hell. So what is the benefit of even marrying someone in the so-called truth if it's not even going to keep you guys in spiritual alignment? You know what I'm saying? I would rather have a solid foundation, glory and praise the Most High, and knowing how to worship him, and bringing a woman who, may not be so-called in the truth, bringing her in and worshiping with her, rather than just finding someone with outward appearances who she can't, like, that's, the woman's not stopping you from being on a lunar calendar. So what benefit is it of having a so-called righteous woman? It's not even benefiting you. That's why Paul said, even if you get married to a righteous person, act as if you're not married. Work out your salvation with fear and trembling, because people are not doing the work. Oh, I'm just blindly following and blindly leading, just like they're doing with the congregation. These people are putting congregations on lunar calendars, putting their wife on lunar calendars, and it's the blind following the blind. Nobody knows. The man doesn't know, his wife doesn't know, and the people listening, none of them know. Just blindly following, you know what I'm saying? And we're not doing that. Glory and praise the Most High. We are showing what the real fruits of the Most High are. So again, I ask you, is that love? Having a so-called physically modest Hebrew woman that's not even, she doesn't even know not to be on the lunar calendar? So what benefit is that love? What benefit is it to even have her if she's still just blindly following you? You know what I'm saying? No one's righteous over there. You know what I'm saying? Actually worshiping the Most High, but just doing whatever. So that point shows you, people are getting women for the wrong reasons, based on the wrong things, based on conditional things. Oh, you look like a Hebrew. That's conditional. That's not spiritual. And thus, it's not even benefiting them. It's not even keeping them from going astray or going on lunar calendars. It's not stopping them. So I'd rather have a woman that's actually meant for me, set apart by the Most High, even if she's so called in the truth or not. I'd rather have a woman that the Most High sent for me and trust that he's going to keep us in alignment, rather than just doing nothing, not healing, and just waiting for a picture perfect girl to come. And she doesn't know the difference between the lunar calendar. So what benefit is it by even having a so-called righteous woman? So that point speaks for itself. If you know, you know. And so just to give another comparison and another parallel. So I did mention in the voice message how, and I'll kind of just briefly talk about it again. This is good for me to get these points out now. And, just kind of, there's a point to showing this, because I'm going to, again, juxtapose and compare and contrast what is love. I'm going to show what the so-called truth has become, just like I just explained. People getting on lunar calendars and so-called Hebrew marriages, none of them know what to do. That's what's going on in so-called truth. I'm going to show what else is going on in so-called truth versus everything that we've said here, what true love is spiritually and what the carnal so-called truth is. And I'm going to ask you, what seems like love here? What seems more aligned with the will of the Most High? And I'm going to use this as an example, and it's perfect to do it now as I'm single, saying this message, saying this episode, so that I can move on in sacredness, glory, and praise of the Most High. So pretty much, like I said, I knew who my twin flame was in 2019, and then I found the Most High in 2020. And so for all of 2020, all of 2021, and for the majority of 2022, I wasn't even looking for another woman, not even looking to be married, because I had so much work cut out for me. I was continuing to learn about the scriptures and learn about the Most High. And I said, I'm not even ready for a woman right now. I'm still learning how to be a man. Wasn't even a thought in my mind. I wasn't looking for other girls. I wasn't nothing, not even looking. So all of 2020, all of 2021, all of the majority of 22 until like November or December of that year. So literally for like 3 straight years of being in the truth, my twin flame was out of my life for the time being. And I was just focusing on the Most High, healing, learning about the scriptures. I was like, I have so much work cut out for me. I'm not even looking, literally, quite literally. And it was actually very easy. The beginning parts are way easier when you come into the truth. And then later on, as you start longing for the person even more and wanting to be married, it gets harder. But in the beginning, the first like 3 years, like it was light work. I'm like, bro, I'm so far off from that. I'm not even looking for a wife. I'm not even waiting or hoping. I'm just continuing to grow and learn, right? And then in 2022, at the very end, I did a podcast episode on this series on 225, TPR 225. I believe it was. Yeah, 225. And then I had a person on this podcast series, and then I went on to their podcast series in January of 2023. So in November of 22 and then January of 23, I did 2 podcast episodes, one on my series and one on another series. And that's what brought a lot of you guys in here to TPR, and also gave me more like Instagram followers and stuff by doing those 2 episodes, right? So for all of 2020, all of 21, and majority of 22 till November and December of that year, and then January of 23, up until that point, I wasn't even looking for any girls. I wasn't even really following really hardly anybody in the so-called truth, like 1 or 2 people here, like one music artist, one brother. And essentially that was it. I wasn't in all these echo chambers. I wasn't even really experiencing it. And then when I did those 2 podcast episodes, it brought a lot of people into the truth to the podcast series TPR and even to my Instagram. And I started to see all the masses in the so-called truth and what was going on. Because previously I was just kind of in my own world. The only people that I followed and followed me on Instagram was like people I went to school with and stuff like that. And TPR, there was still people listening, but it was way smaller in those early years. And then in the end of 22 and the beginning of 23, doing those episodes brought you guys in. And then Glory and Praise the Most High, it's just been steadily, essentially increasing since then. Glory and Praise the Most High, it's still small, but it was even smaller, in those early years. So Glory and Praise the Most High, I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful that he kept it small, staying aligned with the spiritual universal laws. If you know, 343. And so then when And then also, so in the timeline, 2020, 21, 22, wasn't even looking for another girl. It was all good. I was just focusing on myself, healing, seeking the Most High. And then in 2024 and 2025, 24 was season 6, 25 was season 7, and here we are in 26 doing season 8. In 24, 25, and 26, I also was not looking for any girls, not trying to talk to anyone, back to just focusing on the Most High and just doing my thing in 24, 25, and 26, literally. So what does that leave? So for the vast majority of the time that I've been separated from my twin flame and in the truth of the Most High, I wasn't even looking for a girl, not even really longing for it, not even hoping for it, not even really considering it, just focusing on growing and building and seeking the Most High. And then those first 3 years, it was very easy. And then 24, 25, and 26, it was easy, but with some ups and downs, because the more time that passed, you want it and you start learning more in the truth. And so the closer you get to it, it kind of does get a little bit harder, because think about if you're going on a run, right? If you're going on a 10-mile run, at mile 1 and 2, you're just like vibing. That's how I was in 2020, 21. I was just vibing because I'm like, I'm just starting out on this run. Like, I'm not even close to the 10 miles. I'm not even close to marriage yet. So I'm like, I'm just vibing right now. And then when you get to mile 7, 8, 9, 10, as you get closer, it does get harder because you can kind of see the finish line. You're like, man, I know I'm getting close. I know it's getting closer, so you kind of switch up what worked. You're like, man, now I got to sprint. Now I got to change. No, you got to just keep steadily going. So, there was little highs and lows, but for the vast majority of being separated from my twin flame and being in the truth, I wasn't even considering or looking. Now, the 1 year where that was different was in 2023. So at the end of 22 and in the first month of 23, that's when I had a bunch of people come into my Instagram, come into the podcast, right? So I saw both guys and girls in the truth, coming in, starting to just see it even more. So I had a few girls, some would message me or one that I reached out to. And in 2023, I did essentially talk to a girl that was so called in the truth. I'm not saying her name in this episode just to keep her privacy. It was all good. And when I say I talked to her, it was really pretty much like friendly. Like we would hunt, me and this girl, for like 10 months in 2023 would hang out like once a month in person, and we would like FaceTime and read the scriptures. And she played an important part in getting the deeper understanding. She was actually there for the paradigm shift. But again, I'm going to show some of the fruits from this relationship, if you can even call it that. It wasn't a real relationship. Like, we didn't kiss, we didn't do anything, like didn't hold hands. Like, it was essentially just friendly fellowship with the possibility and the potential of like, okay, this could be something more, right? So when I got these different followers and people coming into my life in the beginning of 23, I was like, my twin has been gone for years. And, because I was still in a carnal mindset, I wasn't fully healed. I wasn't really tapping into the true unconditional love. I was like, she's been gone for years. Like, maybe I should consider just being not unequally yoked and just being with someone in the truth, right? So that's why I was open to talking to this other girl in 2023. Like I said, never kissed her, weren't holding hands, weren't doing anything, weren't dating. We would just hang out like about once a month, read the scriptures. It was pretty much like friendly fellowship with the possibility. It was like she was a sister, because that's what she was. And it was just the possibility of like, okay, this could be something more. And it was for about 10 months, all of 2023. By the time 23 ended, we were out of each other's lives, and going back into 24, 25, and 26, I wasn't even, thinking or looking at anyone else, only holding space for my twin flame, just like I was doing in 2020, 21, and 22. So for those 6 years, wasn't even, thinking or looking. And then 1 year in the middle in 2023 is what I'm going to talk about. And again, I'm doing this for the edification and for the comparison, so that you could see what is love versus what is the so-called truth, and look at the fruits of this. And this is how you can see that this is just not aligned and not even close to being what people are trying to make it out to be. So, like you can hear in that voice message, this girl that I talked to in 2023, she was so called in the truth. She knew the name of Yah, she prayed, she read the scriptures, right? And like I said, she played a very important part. In 2023, the summer of 23, is when the Most High started the paradigm shift and started to bring out this deeper understanding that has lasting impacts all the way now here to 2026. So this girl was here for that. We were reading the scriptures together. I was bouncing things off of her, iron sharpening iron. We were fellowshipping. So she played a very important part. I'm very grateful for her. It's all good. It's all love. She had a very important part in that, and she was important, right? But then also too, let's talk about the fruits of this so-called relationship and just show how is this love? Like we said in 360, ask yourself, is this love? You know what I'm saying? Does this sound like love versus what I said in this episode? So does this sound like love to you? I'm just going to tell one story from this, experience that I had. That's what it was, an experience. So like I said in the voice message, this girl was so called in the truth, read the scriptures, prayed, knew the Most High, but this girl was not healed at all, and we've all been through things in our lives. We all have to heal. We've all been through trauma, some worse than others, some more serious, but we've all been through things. We all have been in this carnal flesh. This earth is cooked, like I said. So we need time to heal. We all need to take accountability for ourselves and heal and let the Most High heal us, taking accountability, going within to heal. And the truth is, most people in the world and even in the so-called truth are not healing. They're not taking the time to heal. Like I said, they're just waiting for a picture-perfect person to show up instead of going into the trenches, going within to heal. And this girl that I talked to in 23, unfortunately, was no different. She was not a healed person, where I had been putting in 3 years where I was trying to heal and not seeking other relationships, not pushing off blame and accountability, but going within to actually heal myself, right? So because she was a very unhealed person, she was not very trusting at all. Like, imagine this. She thought that I was going to hinder her and take her away from the Most High, which if you guys are listening to this podcast, TPR, you would clearly think that that's just, and I was on TPR in 23. That was season 5, right? Here we're in season 8. So I had been 5 years deep into TPR, 5 seasons of seeking the Most High, right? So that would shock you, right? Like, you'd be like, Rye's close to the Most High. Rye loves the Most High. Like, how is Rye gonna take you away from the Most High, right? Isn't that a red flag initially of just like, that doesn't sound right? But why did she think that? Because she was not a healed person. She didn't trust people. She didn't trust herself. She didn't love herself. So she was projecting these things of like, oh, I can't trust him, and I'm going to show a point for that. And the other important thing is, check this out. Psalms 69:32. Psalm 69:32. The humble shall see this and be glad, and your heart shall live that seek Elohim. Right? So again, over the summer of 23, this girl was here for that and she helped to bring it out. But then in like October, November, when we were really starting to get into the spiritual sacrifices and the times of prayer and everything, and we were about to be out of each other's lives, she wasn't feeling it anymore, like feeling the scriptural things. Like, she was like, I don't know, Rye, like this kind of sound, like we were bringing out the times of prayer and the spiritual sacrifices. And she's like, I don't know, Rye, like this just kind of doesn't really feel like, she's like, this kind of feels ritualistic. Like she didn't see the vision. You know what I'm saying? She didn't see the potential of like, man, Rye knows the Most High. Rye knows what he's talking about. Like, this is a crazy, like we went through a crazy paradigm shift in like July, August, September of the spiritual sacrifices. And then October, November, we're bringing the times of prayer, structured spiritual sacrifices, all these things. And she just didn't see it. And so that was another red flag is Psalm 69:32. The humble shall see this and be glad, and your heart shall live that seek Elohim. And look at the lines before that, Psalm 69:30, 31, 32. I will praise the name of Elohim with a song and will magnify him with thanksgiving, a spiritual sacrifice, peace and thanksgiving, praising the Most High, spiritual songs and thanksgiving, peace and thanksgiving. This also shall please Yahuwah better than an ox or bullock that has horns and hoofs. So this whole chapter is comparing, again, just like the whole scriptures are comparing spiritual to physical, showing that spiritual is better. This is talking about spiritual sacrifices. This also shall please Yahuwah better than an ox or bullock that has horns and hoofs, better than a physical sacrifice. The Most High wants spiritual sacrifices. And then it says, the humble shall see this and be glad, and your heart shall live that seek Elohim. It's if you know, you know. So that was another red flag at the end of this so-called experience was she wasn't humbly seeing this and being glad, the spiritual sacrifice. She wasn't feeling it. She's like, no. So it's because if you know, you know. And the other important thing too is ever since me and this girl stopped talking in 23, as far as I know, she's pretty much like not even really in the truth anymore. Why? Because even when I met her, she wasn't really in the truth like I thought that she was. She didn't have a lifetime foundation. Like we talk about over here, I'm building a lifetime foundation. This walk I'm in this thing for life to last me, y'all willing, until I'm 90 years old, possibly. Just like I'm building a lifetime foundation for a marriage. I'm not looking for a quick fix of just give me someone now, I'm lonely. I'm building a lifetime foundation so that me and whoever I marry can last 60 years till I'm 90 years old, y'all willing. You know what I'm saying? I'm building a lifetime foundation with the Most High and a lifetime foundation of marriage. Where unfortunately, the girl that I talked to in 23, she didn't have a lifetime foundation. She wasn't really in it for life. And the proof is, like when I think when me and her crossed paths, she was at like the height of her being in the truth. She was just like on a little wave. So she was at the top of the wave and then the wave kind of crashed. She wasn't really in it for life. So when we were, talking and fellowshipping, she was like in the truth and reading the scriptures. But essentially, once we went our separate ways, the fruits from her life have showed me that she's not even really in the truth anymore. Why? Because she wasn't even really in the truth to begin with when we crossed paths. Like, yeah, she knew the name of Yah, she read scriptures, she prayed, but you need more than that. Like we're saying, the people in the so-called truth, not everyone's saying Yah, not everyone who's saying they're in the truth is really in the truth. Like, bro, you got to be building a lifetime foundation in the seventh covenant. Like, so this girl, unfortunately, was not really in the truth. And the proof of that is the humble shall see this and be glad, and your heart shall live that seek Elohim. When we were bringing out these mind-blowing paradigm shifts, she didn't really feel it anymore. She was like, yeah, like this kind of feels ritualistic. She wasn't really in the truth. And the proof is, after me and her went our separate ways, she's not even really in the truth anymore. Like she kind of fell away. And what does that tell you? Look at where me and this girl went in our time up after we had our experience in 23 talking and fellowshipping. Look at what the Most High did with my life. Glory and praise to him. Look at all this mind-blowing, deeper understanding that the Most High gave in season 6, season 7, and here in season 8. Utterly mind-blowing. The Most High elevated us so much, took us so far into the seventh covenant, giving all this mind-blowing stuff. It's his praise and glory, his wisdom, his understanding, but wealths and wealths, hours and hours of fruit and spiritual fruit, understanding the scripture, these deeper meanings, all these mind-blowing things. And then if you unfortunately look at her life, she's not really in the truth anymore. So see, we went in two different directions. The Most High took me up and her wave kind of just crashed because she didn't have a lifetime foundation. It's all good. She served her purpose. She fellowshipped with me and got me where I needed to be. Glory and praise the Most High. But like we said in one of these very recent episodes, if you don't keep pace in the wilderness, if you don't keep following the Most High and you drag your feet and stop moving, the Most High just moves on. That's for all of us as individuals. We have to keep following in the wilderness and he will continue to use us playing faith, ping pong. The just shall live by faith. We showed it in this 8th season, what faith is. Back and forth with the Most High. When he tells you to move, you got to hit the ball back to him and move. So if he keeps hitting you the ball and you don't hit it back to him, you're not playing faith, you're not walking in the wilderness, you drag your feet and stop like this girl did, the Most High moves on and says, fine, I used you and it's all good, but you're not going to the next level that Rai's going to because you're not with it. You stopped moving. She stopped playing faith. She stopped playing ping pong. Why? Because she didn't really have a lifetime foundation. So I'm so grateful for the time that me and her fellowship, she served her purpose. The Most High literally used her to bring out this wealth of understanding, but she wasn't willing to go to the next level as for worshiping the Most High and understanding these deeper points. So she stopped moving her feet and the Most High just essentially moved on from her. And that was that. And the fruit and the proof is the Most High completely elevated me when we left each other's lives and she kind of just fell away from the truth. She's not even really in the truth anymore. I'm sure she still prays. I'm sure she still reads the scriptures, but I think I caught her when she was at like the height of her being in the truth. So it is what it is, right? Now, so that's how we kind of ended up at the end of the 10 months or whatever. And let's kind of bring it back to the beginning and show this one example. And so that's just the backstory. Like I said, it's all good. It's all love. No worries. I'm grateful for her. She served her purpose. Now let's bring it back and show this one story. And again, does this sound like love, right? Just because she's in the truth, right? See, this is what I'm saying is I'm not looking for someone who's just in the truth, because if she's not down to ride or die, if she's not building a lifetime foundation, then I don't care if she knows the name of Yah. I don't care if she reads the scriptures. I don't care if she prays. We need a woman who's going to build a lifetime foundation for herself and with us and continue to grow together and learn, rather than just planting her feet and refusing to heal, refusing to grow, and just, projecting outwards insecurities and pain and trauma and whatever. We've all been through pain and trauma. We all got to heal. That's why we all have to go in. That's why we're in this mess of not being able to get along in partnerships, is because what was once pure has been so far corrupted that now the twin flames need time apart to heal. And this girl that I talked to in 23, she had her own twin flame that she told me about. She didn't use the term twin flame and I didn't use the term twin flame with her, but I knew who her twin flame was as well. So see, Me and her were not Adam and Eve together. She had her own Adam, just like I have my own Eve. So when we tried to come together, it didn't work because we weren't made for each other. You know what I'm saying? So if you force it based on conditional things, oh, we're both in the truth, it's not going to work. And it would have been the worst mistake I could have made and that she could have made because we wouldn't have gotten along because we were not unconditional love. We were not twin flames. We were not meant to work out. Right? So to bring it back to the very beginning and just to give one example to kind of summarize the entire relationship, so-called, like I said, from the very beginning, she told me that she had been through a lot of stuff. She was super guarded. Her walls are up. She doesn't trust people. And again, is this love? Is this, like we need to heal. You know what I'm saying? But it's all good. I was willing to overlook all these red flags because I was under the false mindset of, oh, she's in the truth. That's all I need. Be not unequally yoked with unbelievers, right? I was in the false mindset of, oh, she's in the truth. She knows Yah. She prays. She reads scriptures. Perfect. That's all I needed. And now what I'm about to show is we need way more than that. You need, you know what I'm saying? Who Yah has set apart for you, not just someone who's in the truth based on conditional things. You need unconditional love. So to tell one funny story and lighthearted story from this whole experience of talking to the girl in 23 is from the very beginning, she told me that, she didn't trust people and whatever, and it's all good. Right. And so she had told me that let me just tell this story. It's pretty funny, actually, but it's going to really show how the so-called truth has become and like that this is not love. You know what I'm saying? So she told me that she had only fasted like a few different times and that she hadn't fasted in a while. And the previous time she did it, she said it was like very beneficial for her. So I'm like, oh, if you want, like I would do a fast with you. And she's like, okay. So we weren't together physically in the same location to do this fast. We were both at our separate locations at like an hour apart from each other. And we were like, okay, we're just going to fast simultaneously. Right. And so we actually covered spiritual fasting in this season, 354. And, back, we have the fasting review talking about how to do physical fasting. And when you're doing physical fasting, the fast starts the night before. Like when you go to sleep, your fast starts because you're not eating for like 8 hours or so when you're asleep. That's why when you get up, it's called breakfast, breaking the fast, right? So the fast start the night before. So me and her agree and we're like, okay, we're going to do a fast together, right? And this is also going to go to 356, knowing Yah, showing mind-blowing miracles from the Most High, right? This is a crazy story. Check it. So we agree that we're going to do a fast together. And so it's like nighttime. We're like on FaceTime or whatever. And I'm like, okay, once you're done eating, like she's like, all right, I'm done eating for the night. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm like, look, I'm going to go up to my prayer closet and I'm going to say a prayer, like initiating the fast that we're doing. And I told her, I'm like, all right, if you want to pray, like do the same thing. So we get off FaceTime. We're not on the phone, not praying together, just maybe doing it at the same time. But I'm like, I'm going to go pray to initiate this fast. And if you want to pray, go ahead. So we get off FaceTime or whatever. I go up to my prayer closet. It's nighttime, dark out. I say the prayer, committing the fast, right? And then I walk out of my room, my prayer closet, and I look out the window and I literally see in the sky a blood moon, clear as day. And I took pictures and videos of it, a blood moon in the sky. And I'm like mind blown. I'm like, bro, this is so crazy. I'm like, I just met this girl. This is at the very beginning when we had first met. I'm like, I kind of just met this girl. We're fasting together. And I'm like, there's clearly potential here. And so I'm just mind blown. I'm like, wow, I just prayed, committed this fast to the Most High for me and her. And I walk out and I see a blood moon. I'm like, this is mind blowing, right? And so my first interpretation of it was a blood moon. Blood is red, right? A blood moon is red. So I'm like, red is kind of symbolical of like love, like I didn't take it as like a warning or like a bad sign or a bad omen. And I still don't. Like, I know that it was the Most High showing the blood moon. It was a miracle from him. Glory to Yah. 356, knowing Yah. These are the mind blowing miracles, right? So I see the blood moon, take a picture of it, videos and whatever. And as reflecting on it, I'm like, yeah, red is like the color of love. So I'm like, what are the chances? Like I'm fasting with a girl here that there could be potential with. And, I see a blood moon right after I pray to the Most High starting this fast. So I thought it was like a good thing, right? So that night after it happened, like right after, I texted the girl and I sent her the pictures and the video and I said, look at this. This is mind blowing. I'm like, I just walked out of my room after praying and I see this blood moon. And I looked up on my phone, like, is there supposed to be a blood moon tonight? There wasn't. There was no, like, when there's usually like the harvest blood moon or a super blood moon coming, like the mainstream will like write articles about it and like tell the people that it's coming or that it just happened. I looked up, is there supposed to be a blood moon tonight when it happened? And there wasn't. There was no articles the day after, the days after, the days before. There was no mention of a blood moon. So quite literally, this was literally a sign and miracle from the Most High. As I just say a prayer to start this fast with this girl, right after I walk right out of my room, look out the window and see a blood moon that wasn't supposed to be there. There was no news, no mentioning of a blood moon. So it was literally Abba Yahuwah putting a blood moon in the sky for me to see it. A mind-blowing sign and miracle straight from the Most High. Utterly mind-blowing. Again, 356 knowing out. We talked about seeing crows and trains and all these mind-blowing things, and the mind-blowing stories about the angels, the license plate that we saw that said angels are all around. All these mind-blowing stories that I told in 356. That's why I'm telling this story, because it also goes along with that. Here's another mind-blowing story, right? So literally crazy. The Most High showing a mind-blowing miracle of the blood moon. So that night, right after it happens, I text the girl and I say, this is so crazy. I just saw a blood moon. Here's the picture and the videos. Like, our fast is off to a great start or whatever. And she's like, okay, like, cool. Doesn't really have like a crazy response or whatever. And I didn't think anything of it because it was nighttime. We were about to go to sleep, right? And I think she was probably like working the next day or whatever. So, as we probably both were. So go to sleep, nothing, all good. And then I believe then we finished the fast, like it was like a day long fast or whatever. It was all good. No worries. And then I believe I think like that next weekend or very shortly after, like definitely within a month and probably within like a week from the fast and the blood moon, we hung out in person and we met at a cafe, right? So like I said, when we would hang out, like we weren't doing anything. We would just either go to like a cafe or like Whole Foods or whatever and just like hang out and talk is literally what we were doing. It was like friendly things, like literally. So it wasn't like an actual relationship, just with the potential of it. It was like friendly fellowship, like we said. So we meet at a cafe and she tells me at this time, she goes, yeah, when you sent me the picture and the videos of the blood moon, this is in 2023, mind you. She goes, when you sent me the picture and the videos of the blood moon, I'm not going to lie to you. This is what she told me. She goes, I thought that you had changed the date and the time on the pictures and the videos to reflect that it happened she thought that she told me that she thought that I had already had the picture and the videos of the blood moon from a previous time. And she thought that I had changed the date and time to make it look like it happened that night, just to send it to her, just to show like a false miracle and just to lie to her and deceive her. And at the time, mind you, this was 3 years ago. This is in 23. I didn't even know that you could change the time and the date on pictures and videos. Like when she said that, I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, you can change the time and date. Like I didn't even know that you could do that, right? So again, does this sound like love to you? And this shows how damaged the people of the so-called truth is. This is a girl who knew Yah, knew the name of Yah, prayed, read scriptures, knew Yah straight up, right? And look at how she just didn't see it, right? This girl was so damaged. Like truly, does this sound like love to you? Like people say, oh, be not unequally yoked. This is a girl who's in the truth. This is right up your alley. Does this sound like the fruits of the Ruach? This girl saw me on TPR for 5 seasons, knew I was a man of the Most High, knowing I was seeking the Most High. And she was so damaged and so unhealed that she literally thought that I had been holding a picture and a video of a blood moon, holding on it, scheming on it this whole time, changing the date and time of the picture just to lie to her, just to scheme her, just to harm her and take her away from the Most High. Like, do you see how like sad that really is? Because this girl didn't heal herself. She didn't go within. She was just, I'm damaged. I've been through trauma, so I just don't trust people. So this shows that she didn't really think I was a man of the Most High. Like she just thought I was like any other Joe Schmo, a liar, a schemer, that I was willing. Like, you know what I'm saying? How crazy that she thought I was out on a podcast talking about the Most High, being a man of Yah, and thinking that behind closed doors that I'm a liar and trying to scheme her and that I was holding on to this picture and video of a blood moon just to lie to her and deceive her. Like, what? So again, I ask you, does that sound like love? That's not love. That's not Abba Yahuwah. Why? Just because she knew the name of Yah, just because she read the scriptures just because she prayed. No, we need more than that. We need someone who actually knows Yah 356, knows that. So think about it. She couldn't recognize a man of the Most High, glory and praise the Most High, me. She couldn't recognize that I was a man of the Most High. She thought I was just like any other dude, a liar, a schemer, trying to like she really believed that I was there to deceive her, that I was there to take her away from the Most High, where quite the contrary. You guys listening to these episodes, like, you're like, man, Rai loves the Most High. Rai fears the Most High. Like, this shows that the people of the truth don't fear the Most High, because if she, like, I'm terrified of the Most High. I would be terrified to be going on a podcast and then lying and scheming. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you can't just be saying anything. But this shows that, like, she didn't really know Yah, because she thought that I was just so careless, not fearing the Most High, that I would just be lying and scheming and doing all this stuff, that I was going to take her away from the Most High. Like, if she really knew the Most High, she would know that that I'm terrified of the Most High. And she would have also known that I'm a man of the Most High. And forget me being a man of the Most High. If she really knew Yah, she would have known that that blood moon was a sign directly from the Most High. That was a mind-blowing miracle. And see, she just didn't see it. And then after we went through the paradigm shift months later and we were bringing out the spiritual sacrifices, which is so mind-blowing and crazy and important, she didn't see it. She said, nah, this is too ritualistic. The humble shall see this and be glad. She wasn't glad. She didn't see it. It was, if you know, you know. She didn't know. So at the end, she didn't recognize the times of prayer and the spiritual sacrifices and how important it was. She didn't recognize me as a true man of Yah standing before her, trying to take her to the Most High, trying to help her grow. She didn't recognize me as a man of the Most High. She didn't recognize the blood moon as a straight up sign and wonder and miracle, spiritual miracle from the Most High. She just said, nah, he's a liar. It was a coincidence, whatever. And the Most High showed her other mind-blowing miracles too. She told me also she was on a road trip with her friend coming back from like Carolina, and they were talking about me. And as they were talking about me, they looked up and saw two billboards next to each other. One said Ryan and the other billboard said Wilson. So as her and her friend were talking about me, they saw a billboard that said Ryan on one and Wilson on the other. Ryan Wilson. So see, the Most High was literally showing this girl miracles, from the blood moon to seeing my name on billboards as they're talking about me. She had literally a legit man of the Most High trying to take her to the Most High, trying to help her to grow, trying to show her the wonders and miracles through the spiritual sacrifices and the paradigm shift and the blood moon and all these wonders. And this was a supposed girl of the truth. Didn't want it. She dragged her feet. She stopped her feet. She said, nah, I'm not gonna follow the Most High, whatever. So then the Most High moved on and said, fine, you served your purpose. You helped Rai get where he was, but she wasn't willing to grow. She wasn't willing to grow with me, even as a friend. Forget even if there was no potential with us. She thought, she just didn't see it. She didn't see me as a man of Yah. She didn't see the blood moon as a miracle from Yah. She didn't see seeing my name on a billboard as a sign from Yah. Literally a sign, literally sign. When we were bringing out the spiritual sacrifices in the times of prayer, she just didn't see it. She didn't see my potential. Imagine. And I'm grateful too. Trust me, I'm grateful. Like, we were not ordained from each other. She has her Adam, I have my Eve. It was not going to work. It was a learning experience. The Most High let me have that experience, so I'm grateful for it. It worked for Romans 8:28. All things work together for good. It was so perfect. It was amazing. I'm grateful to go through it because it showed me what love is not, what the so-called truth is not. This is not love, bro. Does that sound like love to you? Ignoring the miracles and the wonders, the blood moon, ignoring the man of the Most High right before her, ignoring spiritual sacrifices in the times of prayer, all these mind-blowing things that she could have been a part of, but she just rejected it and said, nah, that ain't it. Rai's going to take me away from the Most High. He's a liar and a schemer and all this stuff. And it's the furthest thing from the truth. Why? Because she doesn't know Yah. She wasn't building a lifetime foundation. It is what it is. The fruit speak for itself. And the proof is, if I was a liar and a schemer and I was making up the blood moon and all this stuff, why did the Most High elevate me to these astronomical levels, glory and praise to him, giving us all this deeper understanding about how to worship him? And why did she fall away from the truth? If I was a liar and a schemer and I was making it all up, then the reverse would have happened. She would have went up and we would have went down. It was the opposite. Glory and praise the Most High. We got exalted because we humbled ourselves, but because she never humbled herself and was unwilling to grow, she got brought low off of the wave, not building a lifetime foundation. It is what it is. So these are spiritual universal laws. That's a perfect summary of mine and hers experience. So see, there was no potential there. She didn't really know the Most High. She didn't recognize the miracles of the Most High. She didn't recognize the man of the Most High right before her, and it's all good. And I'm grateful for that because she has her Adam, I have my Eve. It was never supposed to work. It served its purpose for what it did. Just like with Toviyahu, and Sarah trying to marry 7 guys. It worked for the purpose, and Toviyahu didn't reject her and say, oh, you were trying to be with 7 guys. It's all good. So for me, seeing this through with the girl in 2023, it's all good. It worked together for the plan. And the reason it didn't work is because just like Toviyahu, the reason why Sarah didn't work out with those 7 men was because from the beginning, Tobit 6:17, from the beginning, Toviyahu, Tobias, and Sarah were meant to be together from the beginning. So that's why it didn't work out with the 7 girls. And me and my twin flame, the girl with the Sarah and her 7 men, and me and my twin flame have been written to be together for the beginning. So when I tried to talk to the other girl in 23, that's why it didn't work. So no hard feelings. It's all good. But this is the facts and the proof and the fruit of that relationship. And I ask you, does that sound like love? Denying the miracles of the Most High, denying the spiritual sacrifices, and denying the man of the Most High that's trying to take you deeper to the Most High? No, it's not love. It's rhetorical. I'll let you answer for yourself. But clearly, that's not what love is. But that's what the so-called truth would say. Yeah, that's a righteous relationship because she knows Yah and be not unequally yoked. That is the furthest thing from love. And I praise and I'm grateful to the Most High that didn't work out, because that would have been the worst mistake that me and her could have ever made. It would have been a horrible relationship because we weren't healed, we didn't have the doctrine, and we weren't aligned. Glory and praise the Most High. So I'm so grateful. It's all good. No hard feelings. It worked for its purpose. So I say all that to say, if you want to take that's the road that the masses are doing, the blind following the blind, be not unequally yoked, all the surface carnal worship, not healing, not taking accountability, not even knowing the Most High. Or we could take the other route and realizing that twin flames are from the Most High, and something like that, what we just explained, that story is not from the Most High. Understanding what is from Yah, what is from the Most High, the twin flames, and holding space, waiting with open arms, and going within to heal in the meantime is how we can continue to grow in love and in the 7 spiritual covenant. All praise to the Most High. So just wanted to put that story in there. You know, it is what it is. And that's a perfect microcosm of what the so-called truth relationships has become. Something like that. That's the furthest thing from love, truly. All praise to the Most High. And so just some other similar points before we play this other voice message and start to bring this episode to a close. What we can see through the so-called truth is, like, and we've always said this for years, like, even in the so-called truth, right? Like, it can all turn, like, righteousness can turn into vanity, or dressing modestly can turn into vanity. Like, we even said this, like, in season 5, like, you know, people can still lust, like, even the so-called sisters dressing modestly on social media, like, guys still lust after that. You know what I'm saying? So it's essentially just turning righteousness back into vanity, kind of just like repackaging it, right? So it's really the same qualities, just repackaged in the so-called truth, just like we said throughout the season. The so-called truth has become just like another religion. Like we said, for example, if you look at Catholics, they go to a physical building to eat physical bread. They go to a physical building, the church, to eat physical bread, the communion, and they put on their Sunday best to do it, and they pass around the donation plate. And then you look at the so-called truth, they go to a physical temple, a physical tent for tabernacles, and they eat physical unleavened bread, and they put on their Hebrew garments, the Babylonian fringes, and they pass around the Venmo links to send them money, right? So it's just like another religion. The Catholics go to a physical building, a church, while the so-called Hebrews go to a physical tent, the tabernacle, and the so-called Catholics eat the physical communion, the physical bread, and the so-called Hebrews eat physical unleavened bread. And the so-called Catholics put on their Sunday best to pass around the donation plate to send money, collecting money, and the so-called Hebrews put on their Hebrew garments, Babylonian garments, and pass around the Venmo links, collecting money, taking it to a den of thieves. See how it's just another religion just repackaged into the so-called truth to be the Hebrews, just taking a false religion? Because that's what it's all, carnal worship. The whole scriptures are showing, like we showed throughout the season, is showing leaving off carnality and becoming spiritual. And even the so-called truth is just very carnal. Oh, we're sleeping in a tent, we're eating unleavened bread. All that is carnal, not spirituality, because they don't know what they worship. People hear this and say, that's new age, that's wicked. No, bro, this is spirituality. Abba Yahuwah is a ruach, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. This is spirituality. It's not supposed to be carnal. But they have made the so-called truth carnal, right? So the so-called truth is just like another religion, just repackaged. And it's the same thing even when you look at like the trends of the world, right? So in the world, what do worldly women do? They go the opposite route. They show revealing clothes and post on social media and have guys lusting after their revealing clothes, right? Then you repackage it and do the same thing in the so-called truth. Instead of revealing clothes, they put on modest garments and then have guys lusting after that. So see, it's really just the same thing repackaged. In the world, they have show revealing outfits and have dudes lusting after it. In the so-called truth, they say put on modest outfits and have dudes lusting after that. See, it's all just based in lust, based in carnality. It's the same thing repackaged. So just like turning modesty to vanity, righteousness, being fake, humble, all of these outward appearances, carnality can turn into vanity, right? And so it's the same thing. It's the same thing with relationships. It's the old paradigm, right? So what did the paradigm that people in the world do? Find someone that you get along with, all based on conditional things. I like going to the gym. I like drinking. I like smoking, and get married because of that. And then in the so-called truth, I like going to the gym. I like being a vegan. I like conspiracy theories. Get married based on that. See, it's just repackaging the same thing that the worldly people are doing. And that's why it's not working for the worldly people and it's not working for the so-called righteous. It's not working because it's just the old paradigm just repackaged. So it's just human nature. You know what I'm saying? All these parallels to what the worldly people are doing, to what the false religions are doing, and then it's even spilling into the so-called truths, just doing the same thing, repackaging it as, oh, it's so-called righteous, but it's all carnal and it's not spiritual, where this is true spirituality, a new paradigm, and opening up a whole other lane. Glory and praise to the Most High. So, and the answer is to heal, because the people in the so-called world are not healing, the people in the so-called truth are not healing, and the answer is to go within and heal and understand true unconditional love. So, and with that being said, as for the unconditional, like we kind of alluded to this earlier, and even in 359, Lifetime Foundation 2 and Spiritual Bloodlines 3, we show the scriptures in Psalms where, in the Psalms, it was talking about, when my strength fails me, hoping that the Most High, like even when your physical strength fails, when you get old, that the Most High will not forsake you, right? He will be with you even in old age, right? Cast me not away in the time of old age. When my strength fails me, let the Most High still be there for you, right? And then in Psalms 92, the righteous shall still be bringing forth fruit even in old age. So we said in that episode 359 too, that even in the Psalms, building the Lifetime Foundation, it's telling us to keep in mind our latter days, keep in mind our end. You know what I'm saying? Don't just say, oh, I'm 30 now, I'm chilling, I'm healthy. No, you got to build a lifetime foundation to be able to last you that long. And it's the same thing with your marriage, right? So with us, we're building as individuals a lifetime foundation to last us when we're 90 years old, so that when our strength fails and we're old and 90, that the Most High doesn't fail us or forsake us, and that we could still be bringing forth spiritual fruit even in old age, even when we're 90 years old. Same thing with a lifetime foundation with a partner, with a marriage. You have to be ready and able to love this person unconditionally till you guys are 90 years old. So you're not going to be the same person when you're 90 as you are when you're 30. And for example, you're not going to look the same when you're 90 as you do when you're 30. So if it's all based on carnality, oh, I lust after this person, she's attractive or whatever, are you still going to love her when she's 90 years old and wrinkled and whatever, and she doesn't look the same? And I've even been considering this as well, helping me to understand unconditional love. Literally, like, when I like walk around and go to the store and I see like a old woman, I like think to myself, I'm like, man, am I going to be able to love my twin flame? Like, even when she's like old like this, you know what I'm saying? Like that is love, rather than just, oh, I'm lonely now, let me get married now, based on lust. And it's like, all right, but when she doesn't look like she does when she's 30, when she's 90, are you still going to love her? You know what I'm saying? So this is the lifetime foundation. And it, even as individuals, consider your end. Consider when you're old and your strength fails you. Are you still going to be with the Most High? Do you have a lifetime foundation? Are you still going to bring forth spiritual fruit in your old age? Is your marriage still going to be fruitful when you're 90 years old? Or are you going to hate each other? Look at the people of the world, right? And also, too, side point, what ages people? The things that are aging people is darkness, doing pagan holidays and Christmas and birthdays. All of that ages the people. So if you stop doing that, you start aging backwards. You'll be younger way longer. So when you're 60, you'll look like you're 40. When you're 90, you'll look like you're 70. So side point, y'all willing. But that's a side point. And also the toxic foods, you know, people eating poisons and Doritos and Oreos, all that ages you as well. So if you eat real foods and you spiritually purge yourself from spiritual darkness and you stop doing Christmas and birthdays and whatnot, you start aging backwards and you have the light on you. Because like I said, when you go to the grocery store and you see an old woman, the reason she looks old is because she has been doing Christmas for 80 years of her life. All that wickedness, all that fornication, cheating on the Most High. So the Most High lets her get old and decrepit. But if if you stop doing that and you start eating good foods, the Most High will age you backwards and start looking younger and feeling younger and being younger way longer. But the reality is, even if you age backwards, like I said, when you're 90 years old, even if you look like you're 70, you're still not going to look like how you did when you're 30, you know? So are you going to be able? So that's what I challenge the brothers out there is when you start going about your day, don't be lusting after 30-year-olds saying, oh man, that girl looks cute. Look at a 90-year-old or a 60-year-old and say, man, could I love a woman even when she looks like that? Am I still going to love her? And when she looks old like that, that is love right there. That is unconditional love. Like I said, what is love? Even considering your old age, considering your end, you know what I'm saying? Man, can I truly, and that's how you know, like, man. So then again, if you're able to love this person when they're 90 years old, how much more can you love them when they're 30 and you guys, you know, have that close connection? You know what I'm saying? This is love. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, getting along with the person, if you could love this girl when she's not even in your life and she may be talking to someone else or doing whatever and she's just not in your life, if you could love her then, how much more are you going to be able to love her when she just does something that annoys you or whatever? You'll just laugh it off and be like, bro, man, I loved you when you weren't even here. So it's all good. Like, I love you. This is love. You know what I'm saying? Or when she's 90, you'll be able to smile and laugh and be like, I still love you because it's not based on surface conditional things, but is based on spiritual true love. Glory to the Most High. This is love. So all things to consider. And that's the point of unconditional love. And the other thing too, like you heard in the voice message before we start to bring it to a close and play the other voice message, like I said, I wouldn't be able to love another girl like I can my twin flame. And that's also too why the Most High would do this, is because it almost makes it like impossible to cheat, impossible to commit adultery, because it's like, I can't even connect with, even if there was a picture perfect girl right before me that's in the truth and everything, I still can't connect with her on the level that I can connect with my twin flame. And why would the Most High do it? So it's literally like now impossible for me to even try and connect with another girl, you know what I'm saying? So then when I'm with my twin flame, I'm not even looking at anyone else, considering anyone else, because I'm like, I'm not even checking for the options. That's how I've been in these 6 years from 2020, 21, 22. I wasn't even checking for the options. And then in 23, I did consider the options. I got distracted a little, and at least the Most High let me grow from it, and it worked for good. And then 24, 25, 26, I'm not even checking for the options because I know there's only one Eve for me, and she's out there, and I know who it is, and I'm her Adam. So see, once you understand this, you stop checking for the options. So then even when you come together again, you're not tempted by anyone else, no matter who it is. You know, man, I have no spiritual connection with them, no physical. It's almost like literally impossible to even cheat. Even just by looking on a woman, you can't even lust after anyone because you're like, they're not my twin flame. That's another reason for it, why the Most High would do it. So all praise to the Most High, just some random thoughts. And another thing that we spoke about as well in this season, this 8th season of TPR, starting from the very first episode, 351, the great 8th season, we showed in the scriptures how in the 7th covenant, the Most High's faithfulness will not fail, right? He's always there ready to play ping pong and go back and forth. His mercies are new every day in Lamentations, and we covered it also beyond 351 throughout the 8th season. We covered it. Like I think at 359 as well, we played voice messages and showed what we learned from it. Like he's always there for us, right? So not only were we cheating on the Most High when we were in darkness before we even found him, but even after we came back, we've still fallen a few times. We've still had a few hiccups, and he still never forsaked us. So it's even unconditional even when we're in the covenant, and it's unconditional even when we were in darkness. He loves us unconditionally. Now, should we keep provoking him and do whatever like the Christians pervert? Absolutely not. But he knows our hearts. He knows when we genuinely slip, and he forgives us and loves us unconditionally. So same thing, if you are with this woman that you love unconditionally, if she makes a mistake or whatever, you're like, it's okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? I forgive you. I understand. It's all love. It's unconditional love. Whereas if you don't have this and you're just with some random girl, it's going to start to annoy you and bother you when they do things against you. But if it's someone like, you're like, just like the Most High with us, he's like, he loved us even when we were cheating on him. So even when a just man falls 7 times and rises up again and we slip, he's like, listen, you've done way worse in your life. He's like, my faithfulness will not fail. You're in the 7th covenant. I've adopted you. Whereby we cry, Abba, Father. He's adopted us. He's like, you're living in my roof. Yes, I'm going to chastise you. Yes, I'm going to humble you, but I'm not going anywhere. That's like how it is with us unconditionally. It's like this woman will understand, like, There is no one else from me. I'm not going anywhere. My faithfulness will not fail. So even if you annoy me, even if you do something against me, I'm going to forgive you because it's unconditional love, just like the Most High had with us. So it makes it that much easier for the marriage to thrive. You don't resent this person because you love them unconditionally, no matter what they do. Just like Abba Yahuwah loves us no matter what we do. So we just keep provoking him? No. So is your woman going to just do whatever she wants to and disrespect you? No. But when she slips, she's not perfect. Why are you expecting her to be perfect? She's not perfect. So when she slips and does something, you can easily forgive it. Just like when we're not perfect, we're in these carnal bodies of death. So when we slip against the Most High, he forgives us because his faithfulness will not fail. His unconditional love will not fail. So that's another point as well. Again, this is what true love is. This is what will allow a marriage to last till you're 90 and you don't resent each other. You don't hate each other. Whereas like if me and the girl from 2023, we would have started resenting and hating each other because we weren't aligned. We weren't each other's twin flame. It wasn't right. And see, we didn't have unconditional love. But on the contrary, when you have your twin flame, this is what true unconditional love is. All important things to consider. All right. And so with all that being said, there's clearly a lot going into this. And like we said, we kind of started our thoughts in 357. I mean, we've been planting seeds for years, like I said, even from 2020, but we started these thoughts in 357. And just continue to build. And clearly here, there's a lot here. This is a long episode already. And so we're about to bring it to a close. And this voice message is going to lead us into where more answers can be found, where we will have a space and time to continue to speak about these things, Most High willing. These are really just initial thoughts and random points and side points, just putting it out there, getting you thinking. And Most High willing, we're going to continue to build. So let's now listen to this voice message, which was also from November 25. Just the next day after those original messages, that original message that you heard. And I'm going to leave this one unmastered because you're going to hear the train and other things and the animals in this voice message, which is going to bring it together from 356 knowing Yah. So listen to this and then we'll speak more and bring this episode to a close. These are just the initial thoughts, breaking the paradigm and asking the questions, what is love? And Yah willing, I do believe we started to answer it. Most High willing, there's even more. There's always more. Glory and praise the Most High. So let's listen to this and bring this episode to a close. But check this out. And then, as for like the love points and stuff like that, honestly, right, there's so many different layers to it. And like you said, all types of different love, neighborly love and brotherly love and loving the Most High and loving a spouse. So definitely great points. And people are all over the spectrum with this. Like some people understand twin flames. Some people are in the truth but don't understand twin flames. Some people are totally worldly. There's all different levels. And I feel like, essentially, if I do start to speak about this stuff, just like I said in that previous message, it's just going to be about challenging the paradigm and challenging people's thoughts, whether they believe in twin flames or not, but just breaking the paradigm of what is love, like we said in the previous message, just challenging it. And like Messiah said, those that can receive it, because people are all over the place. And it's, if you could receive it. So I think that's what's going to be my approach. And honestly, Shells, I'm really considering, and I've been meditating on this for months since the whole break of TPR, and I'm pretty sure, Most High willing, I think I might start a secondary podcast platform in addition to TPR to kind of speak about these types of topics. Because, the people in the truth, some people are like, twin flames, that's wicked. I don't want to hear that. That's new age. So I feel like going on TPR and talking too much about twin flames kind of almost will scare people off. And I don't care what man can do unto me. I got to speak Yah's truth. But I am considering just starting a secondary podcast to pair with TPR. And there will be a lot of overlap. I will talk about twin flames on TPR. But I'm thinking about having a secondary podcast for these alternative types of topics and having the overlap go together, pairing it with TPR. TPR is the primary, and this would be a secondary type of podcast, not just for twin flames, but for other topics. I just see two squirrels running by me as I'm saying this right now. That's crazy. Two of them, two podcasts, twin flames, whatever, praise the Most High. So that's what I'm thinking, but still taking it slow and not going to rush into anything, but I am considering that. Because, some people just don't want to hear it, so I don't want to keep and there's a lot of scriptural things that need to be talked about on TPR. So I'm considering doing that. And then as for what you said, like, yeah, I'll definitely take it to the Most High for, the people that don't know who their twin flame is and stuff like that. And that is important. But here's the other thing I'll say too, Shells, is here's a danger too of marrying someone who, just say you don't know who your twin flame is for any person, and then they marry somebody. But then what if then later on, 10 years into the marriage, they realize who their twin flame is, and then you can't get that person out of your mind, and they're your Eve, they're your Adam, and you keep thinking about it? Because I've seen that happen, where people are in marriages and then they realize who their twin flame is, and then they're feeling conflicted. So like for me, for example, if I was to marry someone who's not my twin flame, and just say I tell her about it, I say, look, I have this girl who's a twin flame, but I'm choosing to marry you instead. And she's like, okay, cool. What am I going to do then if the girl that I marry 5 years into our marriage, she learns and realizes who her twin flame is, and she has this unmistakable, undeniable draw to this other man, and she married me? Then she's feeling conflicted. You know what I'm saying? So that's even the danger of marrying someone who's not your twin flame, is what if they learn who their twin flame is, and then they can't get them out of their mind? And even though you guys got married, they're like, because now the true unconditional love is activated. So they don't care if you married a person of Yah, because in their mind, they have their Eve, they have their Adam. So that's the other point as well. So like I said, it's not going to be for everybody, and those who can receive it are going to receive it. And I'll definitely think and this is why for years I stopped talking about twin flames. One was to get the doctrine down, because that's what we really needed to understand. But two, because not everybody can receive it. And I don't want to send people down rabbit holes that they don't need. But now where the Most High is leading me, I'm going to speak the things that he's telling me to speak on. And I'm going to challenge the ideas of what love is. And people are struggling in the truth anyway with the current paradigm, with the current mindset of just find someone who's a believer. That's not even really working for the majority of people. So are we going to just keep going with what's not working? How many of us are single? You know what I'm saying? And we've been putting in work for years. So that tells us too that there's got to be another way. There's another paradigm. And that's what I'm going to bring out and challenge. What is love? What is marriage? And those that can receive it can receive it. And if not, then, it is what it is. But people are struggling anyway. It's not like we're all in happy marriages and I'm saying, forget all this, let's tear it down and do something new. So many people are single and struggling and looking for a partner. So that's why I'm feeling led to show and reveal the things that the Most High is showing and revealing, because it may just open up a whole new paradigm and chapter that we haven't even tapped into. But like I said, not everyone wants to hear it. That's new age, that's wicked. And that's part of the people's problems. And that's why I'm not going to hold back. There's a train. Praise the Most High. Say less. Hallelujah. Amen. That's why I'm not going to hold. That's why I'm not going to hold back, because, say less. People are trying to put the Most High in a box when he's trying to break the box, trying to break the paradigm. So yeah, definitely interesting things and food for thought. And I'm just happy that the Most High is bringing it out. Glory and praise to him. And it'll all come together in perfect timing. But you already know. So hallelujah and amen. Say less. All right. And so honestly, that voice message said it all. And like I said, that was from November 25. And like I said, it'll all come together in perfect timing, and glory and praise the Most High. See how it's coming together, and being patient, waiting months for the right time to record and put the episode out, bringing it all together. All praise to the Most High. It's mind blowing. And just like some notable points, right? At the end, you heard the train, just like in 356, knowing Yah. As I'm talking about these things, so you can hear the train, right? The Most High confirming, showing. And the other crazy thing was, like I said, in 356, I was talking about seeing crows and getting signs and messages from animals. What happened there? As I said in the voice message, I saw 2 squirrels running by. I could still picture it in my mind. I know where I was standing. I could still see it now. 2 squirrels running by me as I'm talking about 2 podcast twin flames, getting signs from animals, 356, knowing Yah, and hearing the train as I'm talking about all these things, confirmations on confirmations, glory and praise the Most High, and still being patient, waiting months and years, letting it all come together in perfect timing. So all praise the Most High. That voice message is like a microcosm right there. That says it. All praise the Most High. So blessed. Hallelujah. Amen. So with that being said, I did, in fact, start the secondary podcast series. And like I said, putting a lot of points in here, and there is going to be a lot of overlap. But what I am doing, so just like you heard in that voice message, I did start the secondary podcast series. This right here, TPR, is the primary podcast, and I did a secondary series. That's what I'm calling it. You know how people have like second YouTube channels and whatever? I'm doing it with a podcast. I got the primary podcast, TPR, and the secondary podcast series is called TFR, Twin Flames Report. And so Most High Willing, in the next episode, I'm going to do just like a shorter episode and talk about the platforms that it's on and how to reach it and find it. But in this episode description, I'll put links to it. It's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you just search and whatever other podcast platforms you may listen to. So if you just search Twin Flames Report TFR, just like this is the Positivity Report TPR. If you search for that, you should be able to find it. And if you listen on Spotify, which I know a lot of you do, go to the show for TPR, this podcast, and go to the More Like This tab. And I have the two podcasts there, More Like This. I have TFR, the Twin Flames Report, and TPR, the Positivity Report. So it's right there on Spotify. Links in this episode description. It's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And we'll speak more about it in the next episode because I just want to do a short episode. This right here is kind of like the origin story, of the podcast itself. And Most High Willing, the next episode, 372, I think we'll just do a short one and kind of talk more about the podcast, but we'll say the points here as well. So it's also in my link tree, which is linktree.com/WilsonRyan__. You can see the links to both the podcasts. Some of you may have stumbled across it already from my link tree or on Spotify or whatever, but I did just want to bring it out. And like I said, this is like the origin story with the voice messages and just other background information to continue to build and to grow. So at the end of this episode, I'm going to play. So right now, at the time of recording this in February, I have one episode posted to TFR, which is the trailer. It's 4 minutes long. And I'm going to play that as the outro for this episode so you can hear the trailer. And if you want more and want to go check out TFR, you could do that. So I'll play the trailer. And just to give some side points as well, like I said, I've talked about Twin Flames going back to 2020 and even most recently in TPR 303 End Time. So what you're going to see on TFR on the secondary series is just that. So right now there's one episode, the trailer, and then I plan to do a few more episodes here in the early stages where I'm going to re-upload TPR 303 End Times, the portion of that episode where I was talking about Twin Flames, Most High Willing. I'm going to upload that to TFR. And then I'm also I have two full movie breakdown episodes, which is TPR 34, It and It Chapter 2 full movie breakdowns, which is about Twin Flames, and TPR 35, The Matrix full movie breakdown, which is about Twin Flames. I'm planning to re-upload essentially those whole full episodes to TFR. That's going to be like the foundation. 303 End Times, where I talked about Twin Flames, 34 where I talked about Twin Flames, and 35 where I talked about it on TPR. That's going to be like the intro where like laying a lot of the important points, and then Most High Willing, I'm going to re-upload those to TFR, and then Most High Willing just build upon that. Just like here on TPR, Season 7 is the foundation. 10 episodes, 2 different 5-packs. You have to listen to those episodes to understand what we're talking about here in the Grade 8 season and then beyond, y'all willing. Same thing on TFR. To understand what we may talk about in time on TFR, you have to understand 303 End Times, 34 the It Chapter 2, It and It Chapter 2 full movie breakdowns, and 35 the Matrix full movie breakdown. So that's going to be like the foundation. That's kind of the origin story as well. And y'all willing, we'll just re-upload those to TFR and then build from there. So see, there is going to be a lot of overlap between TPR and TFR. But the reason why I'm creating the secondary series is, like I said, I don't want to always be on TPR, always talking about Twin Flames, because there's a whole lot of scriptural things to be talking about here. And so yes, it goes together, but again, I don't want to keep scaring and pushing people off of that's New Age, that's wicked, always talking about it. So I figure, the Most High led me to do a secondary series, and let's see how they intersect and work together side by side. You know what I'm saying? So it's actually perfect because it's male and female, masculine, feminine, primary podcast, secondary, TPR, TFR. So I see it coming together beautifully, glory and praise the Most High, and I'm walking by faith, not blind belief, but trusting the Most High. When he nudges me and hits the ball to me and says, start TFR, start a secondary series, and let's see where it goes, I'm hitting it back to him and saying, I trust you, Abba. Let's see where it goes. So I put the trailer out. I'll, Most High willing, re-upload some of the things from TPR, and then we'll see where it goes, Yah willing. And at the very least, it's there, it's established, and we'll see, So I'm not seeing the whole picture, but I do know for certain the Most High's, just like I said, I heard the train, I saw the squirrels. That's the Most High telling me for certain, and all these other things for months and weeks and years, waiting and discerning on these things, and the Most High growing me and showing me what to do, walking by faith, taking action. So like we said in season 8, faith is a twofold step. It's one, identifying where the Most High is in the wilderness, and two, following him. It's not enough to just say, oh, there he is. You got to follow him as well. So same thing when you're playing ping pong. Not only do you have to see when he's hitting the ball to you, you also have to take the action and hit it back to him. So it's a twofold step. So the Most High hits me the ball and says, do TFR. So I have to, one, identify that, hear the train, see the squirrels, and then I also have to take the action and create the podcast and hit it back to him. So that's what we're doing. So we'll give more of the information here in this episode, and then we'll kind of just repeat it in a short episode next. So like I said, it's called TFR Twin Flames Report, just like this is TPR, the Positivity Report. If you go to TPR on Spotify where you're hearing this and go to the More Like This tab at the top of TPR on Spotify, you'll see it right there. It's in my link tree. linktree.com/WilsonRyan__. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and a lot of the other podcast platforms. Wherever you listen to TPR, you can likely listen to TFR as well. And you'll also see in my link tree that I have a YouTube channel for TPR, and I just have like some four old videos, and then the season 7 episodes, the 10 episodes, the 2 different 5-packs, and like 4 older videos, like interviews I did in my calendar episode. And I just leave that up on YouTube. So that's youtube.com/@TPRpod5 is how you find the YouTube channel for TPR. And I just did those episodes on the back end, uploading them to the YouTube channel, and I turn the comments off, and I just don't even really touch that YouTube channel anymore. And I actually created a YouTube channel for TFR as well, just another platform for it to go on YouTube. And I turn the comments off there, and I'm planning to essentially not touch this YouTube channel either. So that's youtube.com/@Twin Flames Report is how you find the Twin Flames Podcast, TFR, the Twin Flames Podcast YouTube channel. youtube.com/@Twin Flames Report is, and so what I did there is I just uploaded the podcast on the back end. So now every time I put a new podcast episode out on TFR, the secondary series, it will just automatically get uploaded to YouTube. So I don't have to do anything. It's just there on the back end, just like it automatically goes to Spotify. It automatically goes to Apple Podcasts and all the other podcast platforms that it's on. It'll automatically just go to YouTube, and I turn the comments off. I'm not going to be active on YouTube. I'm just putting it there because I figure it's just another platform for TFR to go to. And I feel like people may search YouTube for like Twin Flames Podcast. So that's why I put the title of the channel as Twin Flames Podcast, and the @ is Twin Flames Report. And it's just there if people find it. If not, it's all good. But for the time being, it's there. Just like I have the TPR YouTube channel just sitting there. I don't want to overwhelm it with 300 episodes on the TPR YouTube channel. I just have the 10 episodes, 2 different 5-packs, the season 7, the foundation. That's enough for people to see what's going on over here on TPR and lead them to the actual series, just like we're doing on TFR, putting some of the YouTube videos there and just doing it on the back end, and it's there. And if you see the logo for the YouTube channel for TFR, and I posted that picture, a portion of that picture, to my Instagram, which is at WilsonRyan__. But the logo on YouTube for TFR is like, it's like a smiley face and then 2 frowny faces and then a smiley face at the bottom. That perfectly symbolizes what the twin flame steps are, because you come together as one. So that's the 1 smiley face. And then when you go into separation, you're separated, you're 2 again. And it's the 2 frowny faces upside down, sad because they're separated. And then at the bottom, you come together again and are one together, smiling again. So it's the smile on top, the smile on the bottom, and the 2 frowns in the middle. That's the stages of twin flames. You come together and you're one, smiling, happy. Then you go into separation, split and become 2 again, sad. And then you come into union, what the Most High has brought together, let not man put asunder. You come together one more time in union. The 2 are now one, smiling and happy again. And it's a crazy story. When I found that, I was out on a walk and it was pouring rain. And underneath a train where trains pass, underneath like a train thing is where I took cover from the rain, and it was pouring rain. And like you'll hear in the Matrix and the It series movies, in literature and in movies, when it's raining, it's never just rain or snow. Something important is happening to the character. And I take that approach in real life. So when it's raining, it's never just rain or snow. Something important is happening, tapping into the Most High. He's in control of the rain, just like he's in control of the animals, giving us signs and messages. So it was so mind-blowing. Last year in 2025, I was out for a walk and it started pouring rain, and I took cover underneath a train, and on this like pillar was the spray painted smiley face, two frowning faces and smiley face. So I took a picture of it, and that's what the logo is on YouTube. And that symbolizes the twin flame steps, just like the train is a symbol for twin flames, just like it's a symbol for the Most High. Why? Because twin flames come from the Most High. So it all goes together. The rain was a sign from the Most High, just like the blood moon and all these miracles and wonders and signs. 356, knowing you got to tap in. So it all goes together. And you'll see that with the logo of TFR, having the train as well. So it's all relevant. You'll learn more about it, but I gave you enough here for the origin story. And if if you're hearing this and I haven't re-uploaded 303 and 34 and 35 to TFR, you don't even have to wait for me to re-upload it. You can listen to TPR 303 end times, TPR 34 and TPR 35 to hear those movie breakdowns and those points, to learn about the twin flames already. So I'm just putting it out there. This is the origin story, a lot of the background, a lot of the information. Most High willing, next episode, we'll just do a short episode kind of repeating these points, showing people where it is. We'll play the trailer at the end of this episode, and we'll probably play it to the next episode as well. I just want to put people out there saying, look, here's the secondary series. If you want it, if you heard this episode and you're still here listening and you say, man, I just want to go with Be Not Unequally Yoked and just go where everyone else is going, that's all good. Don't listen to TFR. It's all good. But if you heard this episode and you say, you know what, that sounds like a whole other thing of information, a whole other paradigm, a whole other thing of the Most High and light and love to tap into, then you know where to find it. You know where the secondary series is. I'm just putting it out there. And that's why next episode, y'all willing, I'm just going to do a short episode, putting it out there saying, look, got a secondary series. If you want to hear the origin story, listen to 371 this episode. Here it is. All praise the Most High, and that's it. So that should be everything with the YouTube channel, the YouTube logo, the platforms it's on: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TFR, Twin Flames Report, and TPR, the Positivity Report. That's the secondary and the primary series. They go together. All praise the Most High. So it's just another layer of the TPR universe, if you will, and it's just interesting times out here. So we're walking by faith and still being vigilant, keeping the comments turned off on YouTube, on Spotify. It's not for comments. It's just to put the information out there for those that want it. You know what I'm saying? And the interesting thing is, really, not everyone can, if you listen to season 7 and season 8 on TPR, not many people can receive this. Many are called, few are chosen. So if you're hearing the episodes here on TPR, the thousands, the masses in the so-called truth, they don't even want to hear this. They can't even receive it. So the twin flame thing is really nothing different. There's only going to be a small amount of people that actually can receive it and want to hear it. And just like with TPR, it's not for everybody. It's not to be a men pleaser. It's to show the power of the Most High and the things that he has showed me and where he's leading me to go in faith. And if you can receive it, you can receive it. And that's why I'm separating it. So if you don't want to hear any more about twin flames other than the next episode, there's going to be some overlap. And I've talked about it previously, but we're doing what we do on TPR. We'll do what we may do on TFR and see where it goes. Walking by faith. I hit the ball back to the Most High and said, I set up TFR. I got it on YouTube. I got it on the platforms. And now the Most High will hit it back to me and continue playing faith, because the just shall live by faith and his faithfulness will not fail. And we shall see where it may go. I have an idea with the re-uploading the episodes. And after that, we'll see. I don't know. But there's other things we could talk about. This is just the preview. This is just the origin story. We could talk about, going back to history in the 1800s of when this term twin flame has been used, going all the way back to the garden in the first millennium, Adam and Eve and all this stuff, and everywhere in between. We could talk about the origins, the history, books, whatever. We'll see. Most High willing, we'll see. But all I know is if you know, say less. So I think that's good for this episode, the origin story, and definitely food for thought and things to think about. And, it's interesting. One more point too, I have here in my notes how that and like we said, marriage to a spouse is secondary and marriage to the Most High is primary. Hence the primary and secondary podcast series as well, right? But see, they go together. The Most High used my secondary relation with my twin flame with her to bring me back to the Most High, right? It all goes together. In order to be married to a spouse, you have to be married to the Most High. So that's our primary relationship, is us with the Most High. And then we also have a secondary relationship, us with the spouse, and they go together. They're intertwined and interwoven, just like we have the primary podcast TPR and the secondary TFR, and see, they're going to go together, y'all willing, and they're intertwined and they go together. So, and see, the Most High is going to use his secondary thing to get you closer to the Most High, him, the primary, just like, TFR, the secondary, is going to go with TPR, the primary, and everywhere in between. It all goes together. It's all very much related. So, people are trying to put the Most High into a box of like, why would the Most High let twins go through separation and everything? See how it worked for good? It got me back to the Most High. It served its purpose. So, and just like with Tobias and Sarah, he didn't just let them come together and work in picture perfect. He literally let that girl try and marry 7 dudes and it never worked. And then it finally worked with Tobias. So who's to say the Most High is not going to bring 2 people together, have them go into separation because they need to heal. And this world is so cooked, and what was once pure has become carnal and cooked. So he's going to let them grow apart for a season to grow together. Once again, to heal, to come together, and when they come together, not be separated. So I see the beauty, I see the purpose, and I see how many of us found the Most High because of possibly twin flames or just another relationship. So the Most High is going to use the secondary, our relationships with people, to get us back to the primary, our relationship with him. All things work to get together for good. Romans 8:28, trust the Most High in all your ways and lean not in your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. So I see how it goes together with the primary, secondary, male and female, husband and wife. It all goes together, us and the Most High. Everything, bro. So I think there's enough here and plenty here. So link in this episode description to see more. We gave you the information and then some. And I ask you, my beloved, what is love? All praise to the Most High. Praise Abba Yahuwah through Yahushua Mashiach, the high priest. Be strong, walk in faith and love and light, and all praise to the Most High. And here is the trailer for TFR. Hallelujah and Amen. Light and faith and peace and love. And what you will also hear in the trailer, the audio from the trailer for TFR is from TPR 303 End Times. Everything that you hear said in the trailer is from that larger segment that we did in TPR 303 End Times, where we were talking about twin flames. So I just extracted that audio and put the music in the background to create the trailer. So if you want to hear that full episode, it's TPR 303 End Times is the source material for what you're hearing in the trailer as well. So just wanted to put that point and clarify. And obviously as well, when I re-upload the older podcast episodes to TFR, especially with 34 and 35, those are literally from 2020. So obviously you're going to see my growth if you check out those older episodes as well. That was when I was first coming into the truth. But as for the twin flame points, the foundation and the important points are there. So that's very important. And, like some of my rants and some of the things that I say, especially in 35, the Matrix full movie breakdown, and just in both episodes, there are some things that may be a little cringe or whatever. But when I re-upload the episodes to TFR, I'm not sure if I'm going to, I'm probably going to leave the episode essentially how it is. I may cut a couple things out, but I may just leave it essentially how it is, because the episode is how it is. Glory and praise the Most High. It got us here all these years later, literally. So I don't want to change it too much. And the twin flame information is there. So, and then it will also just be interesting to kind of see what I was thinking about or what I was saying as for first coming into the truth. Like the 35 came out in June of 2020 and 34 was like April of 2020. So, and I woke up in January 2020. So it was at the very beginning of the walk. So it may just, it may be a little cringe, but it's all good. Like, see past that stuff to see what I was really saying and just see the growth years later. Glory and praise of the Most High. So just keep that in mind, that obviously they're not perfect podcast episodes, but even now in season 8, they're not perfect episodes. So when you go back to season 2 in 2020, it is what it is. So, there may be some things that are a little cringe or whatever, but it'll just be interesting to get different perspective as what I was thinking about when I first was coming into the truth, and all the things that I say, especially in 35, like those were things that I was telling to myself of like how we have to grow, how we have to, turn our lifestyles around when we come into the Most High and be a servant of Him. And all of that has echoed years later and has been relevant years later. So even though the episodes may be a little more cringe in 2020 and 34 and 35, it is what it is. And it got us here all these years later in 2026. So that was the very beginning. So it will be really interesting just to kind of hear, like I've revisited the episodes. I know what's in there. So even for you guys listening, it'll one, just be interesting just to get perspective. And two, the twin flame information is important in there. So that's why they're going to be re-uploaded. So if you do revisit them, just understand, yeah, you may have to endure through, a couple rants or just some cringe things that may be in there, but it's in order to bring out the deeper spiritual points. And it's really like that for TPR as a whole. There may be some things that are cringe at certain points in old episodes or even more recently, but the point is we're not supposed to be perfect. We're supposed to be aligned with the will of the Most High. In Romans 8:28, He's going to use it all things for good. And we have to be fearers of the Most High, not men pleasers. So the episodes are not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be cringe at times. There's beauty in the imperfection. So just keep that in mind, in the older episodes, like it is what it is, but it's important to hang in there and listen to the episodes. They're long. The Matrix is, over 5 hours long, and they're long episodes, full movie breakdowns, because there's a lot of important information in there, and things that were said in 2020 are literally still relevant now. So just understand, when you go back further into TPR, it may be a little more awkward, a little more cringe. I was still getting my foundation, but it's also pretty mind-blowing too, seeing the truths that were there back in 2020 and how it's relevant here. So all praise to the Most High. So just wanted to make mention of that as well. Oh, and also one more side point, as you will also see that not only the logos for TFR and TPR go together, same colors, very much similar, a lot of similarities. That's by design. The names TPR, TFR, very much the same and similar. And same thing, even with the intro and outro music, both on TFR and here on TPR. Here on TPR, it's Alive 2020 by Darak Bar is the song, the instrumental for that. And on TFR, the song is Jerusalem by Darak Bar. So the same artist creating the songs, both instrumental, both no words in the songs. They're both from the same albums. Darak Bar's album 7 Trumpets is where Alive 2020 and Jerusalem is from. So same album, same artist, same type of vibe, same kind of lo-fi vibe. So the intro and outro music is very much similar and the same, just like the picture, the logos are similar and the same. So that's very intentional. Like I said, it's the primary and secondary. They go together, they go hand in hand. So just wanted to put that in there. And honestly, that album, 7 Trumpets by Darak Bar, is from 2019, so kind of a different vibe going on back then too, when things were a lot more pure, a lot more different. So that's why I use, songs from that album rather than recent ones, because, the way that the truth has gone and, it is what it is. So just want to put that in there as well. So that's the vibe with the songs, the intro and outro. It's from the 7 Trumpets album by Darak Bar, Alive 2020 here on TPR, and Jerusalem over there on TFR. And actually, if you listen to Jerusalem, the actual song with words, it's, kind of actually very, very applicable, with some of the things that they say. Yes, it's talking about Jerusalem, but it's also applicable to love and coming home and everything like that. So I find it very applicable, but just the vibe's the same, like I said, it's just another extension of the TPR verse, the TPR universe, if you will, bringing in TFR. So from the logo to the music and everything like that, it's meant to go together and be a vibe. So all praise the Most High. So just wanted to put that in there as well. This is the trailer for TFR, and all praise the Most High. You already know. If you know, you know. Say less. Hallelujah. Amen. Much love. Peace. this is what I've learned about twin flames is it brings you back to the Most High. It shows you your true purpose. That's what I always knew since 2020. And in The Matrix, which is a twin flame movie, Trinity runs at the end of the Matrix. And that's what allows Neo to become the one. And then in Spider-Man here, Peter has to give up all his relationships, including MJ, in order for him to become Spider-Man. And so the twin flame thing, even in real life, is to make you find your true purpose. It's so that you can always be who you were destined to be. The reason in The Matrix, Trinity runs after seeing the train, Trinity runs, and right after that, in the ensuing battle with Agent Smith, Neo becomes Neo. He goes from Mr. Anderson to become Neo. So the twin flame brought him to become his true purpose, led him to become Neo. So in order for Neo to become Neo, the twin flame led him there. In order for Peter to become Spider-Man fully, the twin flame led him there. And it's the same thing in your real life. So the twin flames have so much misconceptions around it. What I do know for sure is the twin flame is to lead you to become your true purpose so that you can find the Most High, be who you were always destined to be. And if you do this walk correctly, it'll lead you back to the Most High. The twin flame experience will lead you back to the Most High. I know that the Most High creates twin flames and he uses them to bring you back to the Most High, to make you become who you are meant to be. The Most High uses it for that. The Most High will use that person to reflect different things to you, your own wounds, your own trauma, so that you can finally heal and finally become who you're meant to be. And that's where the healing happens. That's when you heal and you face yourself. We have to heal ourselves. And that's what the point of the twin flame is, so that you can face yourself, you can become yourself, you can heal, and you could trust the Most High and love the Most High and know the Most High. This will show you the power of the Most High. That's how I know it is from the Most High. That's how I know. I'm like, only Yah can do that. I know the Most High Yah, Yahuwah, the Creator. Sirach Ecclesiasticus 42:24. All things are double one against another, and he has made nothing imperfect. And think about those numbers, 4, 2, 24. They're the same numbers, just mirrors of each other.